scored a try and was named player of the match in the win over Argentina in November, but he's not played for his country since. 19-year-old Kalori, who has spelled out his ambition to make his England debut this summer, topped the Prem Gallagher's season try-scoring charts and dominated opponents aerially in a sensational breakout season with Saracens. Cricket now, and day one of the second test of the Oval between New Zealand and England is finally poised after the opening day. New Zealand were put into bat after England won the toss, and they reached 291 for 7 at the close of play. Tom Blundell made the highest score of the day. He made 51. As for England, where their top bowler was Sonny Baker making his debut, he took 2 for 63, and Jacob Bethell picked up 2 cheap wickets late on, as he had figures of 2 for 8 from his 5 overs. Archer, Fisher and Tongue all took 1 wicket. And finally, now finishing with a couple of stories in tennis, and British number 5 Arthur Ferry has kept the home hopes alive at the Queen's Championships as he's moved into the quarter-finals after beating Adrian Manarino. The world number 140 has reached his first ATP Tour quarter-final with a 7-6, 6-4 victory over the veteran Frenchman. And finally in tennis, and British stalwart Dan Evans will have to go through qualifying to make the main draw of the men's singles at Wimbledon after missing out on a wild card. The 36-year-old, who announced last week that he would end his tennis career after the Grand Slam, had hoped to receive one of the 8 singles wildcards to guarantee an emotional final appearance at his home Grand Slam. However, the final remaining places were awarded to British pair Harry Wendelken and Felix Gill on Wednesday. That's for now. We'll have more later. Here are your latest sporting headlines. I'm James Mason. We'll begin in football, and Fulham Vice Chair and Director of Football Operations Tony Khan says there are currently 2 standout candidates to replace Marco Silva, who have had several meetings with the board. It's understood the cottagers have been advancing in talks with Alvaro Arbeloa, who spent the second half of last season in charge of Real Madrid. But in an interview with club media, Khan has suggested that there is no frontrunner for the job at this stage. However, he said that 2 candidates have met with the board several times. Sticking in football, and Rangers and RB Salzburg have completed a deal for Danny Roll to join the Austrian Bundesliga outfit. The 37-year-old will depart despite insisting he was committed to the summer rebuild at the Ibrox club. Also in football, and midfielder Bernardo Silva has joined Real Madrid on a 2-year deal, linking up with manager Jose Mourinho. Silva left Man City at the end of last season, bringing an end to a trophy-laden 9-year spell. Also in football, and Hull could face points deductions in the Premier League in the upcoming season. The Tigers have an overspend of about £6 million on their profit and sustainability calculation. Under the English Football League rules, that could lead to a 6-point penalty. Cycling now, and Belgium's Wout van Aert is set to miss next month's Tour de France with an elbow injury. The 31-year-old is a key rider for his team Visma alongside 4-time Grand Tour winner Jonas Vingegaard. Van Aert, he suffered the injury after falling in training before last week's Tour Avon-Rhône-Alpes stage in France, and an infection developed in his elbow. Moving on to rugby union now, and Max Ujoma and Noah Kalori will have the chance to press their case for test starts after being named in the England backline to take on a France 15 in a non-cap match in Van on Friday. Centre Ujoma scored a try and was named player of the match in the win over Argentina in November, but he's not played for his country since. 19-year-old Kalori, who has spelled out his ambition to make his England debut this summer, topped the Prem Gallagher's season try-scoring charts and dominated opponents aerially in a sensational breakout season with Saracens. Cricket now, and day one of the second test of the Oval between New Zealand and England is finally poised after the opening day. New Zealand were put into bat after England won the toss, and they reached 291 for 7 at the close of play. Tom Blundell made the highest score of the day. He made 51. As for England, where their top bowler was Sonny Baker making his debut, he took 2 for 63, and Jacob Bethell picked up 2 cheap wickets late on, as he had figures of 2 for 8 from his 5 overs. Archer, Fisher and Tongue all took 1 wicket. And finally, now finishing with a couple of stories in tennis, and British number 5 Arthur Ferry has kept the home hopes alive at the Queen's Championships as he's moved into the quarter-finals after beating Adrian Manarino. The world number 140 has reached his first ATP Tour quarter-final with a 7-6, 6-4 victory over the veteran Frenchman. And finally in tennis, and British stalwart Dan Evans will have to go through qualifying to make the main draw of the men's singles at Wimbledon after missing out on a wild card. The 36-year-old, who announced last week that he would end his tennis career after the Grand Slam, had hoped to receive one of the 8 singles wildcards to guarantee an emotional final appearance at his home Grand Slam. However, the final remaining places were awarded to British pair Harry Wendelken and Felix Gill on Wednesday. That's for now. We'll have more later. Here are your latest sporting headlines. I'm James Mason. We'll begin in football, and Fulham Vice Chair and Director of Football Operations Tony Khan says there are currently two standout candidates to replace Bernardo Silva, who have had several meetings with the board. It's understood the cottagers have been advancing in talks with Alvaro Arbeloa, who spent the second half of last season in charge of Real Madrid. But in an interview with club media, Khan has suggested that there is no frontrunner for the job at this stage. However, he said that two candidates have met with the board several times. Sticking in football, and Rangers and RB Salzburg have completed a deal for Danny Roll to join the Austrian and Bundesliga outfit. The 37-year-old will depart despite insisting he was committed to the summer rebuild at the Ibrox club. Also in football, and midfielder Bernardo Silva has joined Real Madrid on a 2-year deal, linking up with manager Jose Mourinho. Silva left Man City at the end of last season, bringing an end to a trophy-laden 9-year spell. Also in football, and Hull could face points deductions in the Premier League in the upcoming season. The Tigers have an overspend of about £6 million on their profit and sustainability calculation. Under the English Football League rules, that could lead to a 6-point penalty. Cycling now, and Belgium's Wout van Aert is set to miss next month's Tour de France with an elbow injury. The 31-year-old is a key rider for his team Visma alongside four-time Grand Tour winner Jonas Vingegaard. Van Aert, he suffered the injury after falling in training before last week's Tour Avon-Rhône-Alpes stage in France, and an infection developed in his elbow. Moving on to rugby union now, and Max Ujoma and Noah Kalouri will have the chance to press their case for test starts after being named in the England backline to take on a France 15 in a non-cap match in Van on Friday. Centre Ujoma scored a try and was named player of the match in the win over Argentina in November, but he's not played for his country since. 19-year-old Kalouri, who has spelled out his ambition to make his England debut this summer, topped the Prem Gallagher's season try-scoring charts and dominated opponents aerially in a sensational breakout season with Saracens. Cricket now, and day one of the second test of the Oval between New Zealand and England is finally poised after the opening day. New Zealand were put into bat after England won the toss, and they reached 291 for 7 at the close of play. Tom Blundell made the highest score of the day. He made 51. As for England, where their top bowler was Sonny Baker making his debut, he took 2 for 63, and Jacob Bethell picked up 2 cheap wickets late on, as he had figures of 2 for 8 from his 5 overs. Archer, Fisher and Tongue all took 1 wicket. And finally, now finishing with a couple of stories in tennis, and British number 5 Arthur Ferry has kept the home hopes alive at the Queen's Championships as he's moved into the quarter-finals after beating Adrian Manarino. The world number 140 has reached his first ATP Tour quarter-final with a 7-6, 6-4 victory over the veteran Frenchman. And finally in tennis, and British stalwart Dan Evans will have to go through qualifying to make the main draw of the men's singles at Wimbledon after missing out on a wild card. The 36-year-old, who announced last week that he would end his tennis career after the Grand Slam, had hoped to receive one of the 8 singles wildcards to guarantee an emotional final appearance at his home Grand Slam. However, the final remaining places were awarded to British pair Harry Wendelken and Felix Gill on Wednesday. That's for now. We'll have more later. Here are your latest sporting headlines. I'm James Mason. We'll begin in football, and Fulham Vice Chair and Director of Football Operations Tony Khan says there are currently two standout candidates to replace Bernardo Silva, who have had several meetings with the board. It's understood the cottagers have been advancing in talks with Alvaro Arbeloa, who spent the second half of last season in charge of Real Madrid. But in an interview with club media, Khan has suggested that there is no frontrunner for the job at this stage. However, he said that two candidates have met with the board several times. Sticking in football, and Rangers and RB Salzburg have completed a deal for Danny Roll to join the Austrian and Bundesliga outfit. The 37-year-old will depart despite insisting he was committed to the summer rebuild at the Ibrox club. Also in football, and midfielder Bernardo Silva has joined Real Madrid on a 2-year deal, linking up with manager Jose Mourinho. Silva left Man City at the end of last season, bringing an end to a trophy-laden 9-year spell. Also in football, and Hull could face points deductions in the Premier League in the upcoming season. The Tigers have an overspend of about £6 million on their profit and sustainability calculation. Under the English Football League rules, that could lead to a 6-point penalty. Cycling now, and Belgium's Wout van Aert is set to miss next month's Tour de France with an elbow injury. The 31-year-old is a key rider for his team Visma alongside four-time Grand Tour winner Jonas Vingegaard. Van Aert, he suffered the injury after falling in training before last week's Tour Avon-Rhône-Alpes stage in France, and an infection developed in his elbow. Moving on to rugby union now, and Max Ujoma and Noah Kalouri will have the chance to press their case for test starts after being named in the England backline to take on a France 15 in a non-cap match in Van on Friday. Centre Ajoma scored a try and was named player of the match in the win over Argentina in November, but he's not played for his country since. 19-year-old Kalori, who was spelled out his ambition to make his England debut this summer, topped the Prem Gallagher's season try-scoring charts and dominated opponents airily in a sensational breakout season with Saracens. Cricket now, and day one of the second test of the Oval between New Zealand and England is finally poised after the opening day. New Zealand were put into bat after England won the toss and they reached 291 for 7 at the close of play. Tom Blundell made the highest score of the day. He made 51. As for England, where their top bowler was Sonny Baker making his debut, he took 2 for 63, and Jacob Bethell picked up 2 cheap wickets late on as he had figures of 2 for 8 from his 5 overs. Archer, Fisher and Tongue all took 1 wicket. And finally, now finishing with a couple of stories in tennis, and British number 5 Arthur Ferry has kept the home hopes alive at the Queen's Championships as he's moved into the quarter-finals after beating Adrian Manarino. The world number 140 has reached his first ATP Tour quarter-final with a 7-6, 6-4 victory over the veteran Frenchman. And finally in tennis, and British stalwart Dan Evans will have to go through qualifying to make the main draw of the men's singles at Wimbledon after missing out on a wild card. The 36-year-old, who announced last week that he would end his tennis career after the Grand Slam, had hoped to receive one of the 8 singles wildcards to guarantee an emotional final appearance at his home Grand Slam. However, the final remaining places were awarded to British pair Harry Wendelken and Felix Gill on Wednesday. That's for now. We'll have more later. Here are your latest sporting headlines. I'm James Mason. We'll begin in football, and Fulham Vice Chair and Director of Football Operations Tony Carl says there are currently 2 standout candidates to replace Marco Silva, who have had several meetings with the board. It's understood the Cottagers have been advancing in talks with Alvaro Arbeloa, who spent the second half of last season in charge of Real Madrid. But in an interview with club media, Khan has suggested that there is no frontrunner for the job at this stage. However, he said that 2 candidates have met with the board several times. Sticking in football, and Rangers and RB Salzburg have completed a deal for Danny Roll to join the Austrian and Bundesliga outfit. The 37-year-old will depart despite insisting he was committed to the summer rebuild at the Ibrox club. Also in football, and midfielder Bernardo Silva has joined Real Madrid on a 2-year deal, linking up with manager Jose Mourinho. Silva left Man City at the end of last season, bringing an end to a trophy-laden 9-year spell. Also in football, and Hull could face points deductions in the Premier League in the upcoming season. The Tigers have an overspend of about £6 million on their profit and sustainability calculation. Under the English Football League rules, that could lead to a 6-point penalty. Cycling now, and Belgium's Wout van Aert is set to miss next month's Tour de France with an elbow injury. The 31-year-old is a key rider for his team Visma alongside 4-time Grand Tour winner Jonas Vingegaard. Van Aert, he suffered the injury after falling in training before last week's Tour Avon-Rhône Alpes stage in France, and an infection developed in his elbow. Moving on to rugby union now, and Max Ajoma and Noah Kalori will have the chance to press their case for test starts after being named in the England backline to take on a France 15 in a non-cap match in Van on Friday. Centre Ajoma scored a try and was named player of the match in the win over Argentina in November, but he's not played for his country since. 19-year-old Kalori, who was spelled out his ambition to make his England debut this summer, topped the Prem Gallagher's season try-scoring charts and dominated opponents airily in a sensational breakout season with Saracens. Cricket now, and day one of the second test of the Oval between New Zealand and England is finally poised after the opening day. New Zealand were put into bat after England won the toss and they reached 291 for 7 at the close of play. Tom Blundell made the highest score of the day. He made 51. As for England, where their top bowler was Sonny Baker making his debut, he took 2 for 63, and Jacob Bethell picked up 2 cheap wickets late on as he had figures of 2 for 8 from his 5 overs. Archer, Fisher and Tongue all took 1 wicket. And finally, now finishing with a couple of stories in tennis, and British number 5 Arthur Ferry has kept the home hopes alive at the Queen's Championships as he's moved into the quarter-finals after beating Adrian Manarino. The world number 140 has reached his first ATP Tour quarter-final with a 7-6, 6-4 victory over the veteran Frenchman. And finally in tennis, and British stalwart Dan Evans will have to go through qualifying to make the main draw of the men's singles at Wimbledon after missing out on a wild card. The 36-year-old, who announced last week that he would end his tennis career after the Grand Slam, had hoped to receive one of the 8 singles wildcards to guarantee an emotional final appearance at his home Grand Slam. However, the final remaining places were awarded to British pair Harry Wendelken and Felix Gill on Wednesday. That's for now. We'll have more later. Here are your latest sporting headlines. I'm James Mason. We'll begin in football, and Fulham Vice Chair and Director of Football Operations Tony Carl says there are currently two standout candidates to replace Bernardo Silva, who have had several meetings with the board. It's understood the Cottagers have been advancing in talks with Alvaro Arbeloa, who spent the second half of last season in charge of Real Madrid. But in an interview with club media, Carl has suggested that there is no frontrunner for the job at this stage. However, he said that two candidates have met with the board several times. Sticking in football, and Rangers and RB Salzburg have completed a deal for Danny Roll to join the Austrian Bundesliga outfit. The 37-year-old will depart despite insisting he was committed to the summer rebuild at the Ibrox club. Also in football, and midfielder Bernardo Silva has joined Real Madrid on a 2-year deal, linking up with manager Jose Mourinho. Silva left Man City at the end of last season, bringing an end to a trophy-laden 9-year spell. Also in football, and Hull could face points deductions in the Premier League in the upcoming season. The Tigers have an overspend of about £6 million on their profit and sustainability calculation. Under the English Football League rules, that could lead to a 6-point penalty. Cycling now, and Belgium's Wout van Aert is set to miss next month's Tour de France with an elbow injury. The 31-year-old is a key rider for his team Visma alongside four-time Grand Tour winner Jonas Vingegaard. Van Aert he suffered the injury after falling in training before last week's Tour of Vendrone Alpes stage in France, and an infection developed in his elbow. Moving on to rugby union now, and Max Ujoma and Noah Kalouri will have the chance to press their case for test starts after being named in the England backline to take on a France 15 in a non-cap match in Van on Friday. Centre Ujoma scored a try and was named player of the match in the win over Argentina in November, but he's not played for his country since. 19-year-old Kalouri, who was spelled out his ambition to make his England debut this summer, topped the Prem Gallagher's season try-scoring charts and dominated opponents aerially in a sensational breakout season with Saracens. Cricket now, and day one of the second test of the Oval between New Zealand and England is finally poised after the opening day. New Zealand were put into bat after England won the toss, and they reached 291 for 7 at the close of play. Tom Blundell made the highest score of the day. He made 51. As for England, where their top bowler was Sonny Baker making his debut, he took 2 for 63, and Jacob Bethell picked up 2 cheap wickets late on, as he had figures of 2 for 8 from his 5 overs. Archer, Fisher and Tongue all took 1 wicket. And finally, now finishing with a couple of stories in tennis, and British number 5 Arthur Ferry has kept the home hopes alive at the Queen's Championships as he's moved into the quarter-finals after beating Adrian Manarino. The world number 140 has reached his first ATP Tour quarter-final with a 7-6, 6-4 victory over the veteran Frenchman. And finally in tennis, and British stalwart Dan Evans will have to go through qualifying to make the main draw of the men's singles at Wimbledon after missing out on a wild card. The 36-year-old, who announced last week that he would end his tennis career after the Grand Slam, had hoped to receive one of the 8 singles wildcards to guarantee an emotional final appearance at his home Grand Slam. However, the final remaining places were awarded to British pair Harry Wendelken and Felix Gill on Wednesday. That's for now. We'll have more later. Here are your latest sporting headlines. I'm James Mason. We'll begin in football, and Fulham Vice Chair and Director of Football Operations Tony Carl says there are currently two standout candidates to replace Bernardo Silva, who have had several meetings with the board. It's understood the Cottagers have been advancing in talks with Alvaro Arbeloa, who spent the second half of last season in charge of Real Madrid. But in an interview with club media, Carl has suggested that there is no frontrunner for the job at this stage. However, he said that two candidates have met with the board several times. Sticking in football, and Rangers and RB Salzburg have completed a deal for Danny Roll to join the Austrian Bundesliga outfit. The 37-year-old will depart despite insisting he was committed to the summer rebuild at the Ibrox club. Also in football, and midfielder Bernardo Silva has joined Real Madrid on a 2-year deal, linking up with manager Jose Mourinho. Silva left Man City at the end of last season, bringing an end to a trophy-laden 9-year spell. Also in football, and Hull could face points deductions in the Premier League in the upcoming season. The Tigers have an overspend of about £6 million on their profit and sustainability calculation. Under the English Football League rules, that could lead to a 6-point penalty. Cycling now, and Belgium's Wout van Aert is set to miss next month's Tour de France with an elbow injury. The 31-year-old is a key rider for his team Visma alongside four-time Grand Tour winner Jonas Vingegaard. Van Aert he suffered the injury after falling in training before last week's Tour of Vendrone Alpes stage in France, and an infection developed in his elbow. Moving on to rugby union now, and Max Ujoma and Noah Kalouri will have the chance to press their case for test starts after being named in the England backline to take on a France 15 in a non-cap match in Van on Friday. Centre Ajoma scored a try and was named player of the match in the win over Argentina in November, but he's not played for his country since. 19-year-old Kalori, who has spelled out his ambition to make his England debut this summer, topped the Prem Gallagher's season try-scoring charts and dominated opponents airily in a sensational breakout season with Saracens. Cricket now, and day one of the second test of the Oval between New Zealand and England is finally poised after the opening day. New Zealand were put into bat after England won the toss, and they reached 291 for 7 at the close of play. Tom Blundell made the highest score of the day. He made 51. As for England, where their top bowler was Sonny Baker making his debut, he took 2 for 63, and Jacob Bethell picked up 2 cheap wickets late on, as he had figures of 2 for 8 from his 5 overs. Archer, Fisher and Tongue all took 1 wicket. And finally, now finishing with a couple of stories in tennis, and British number 5 Arthur Ferry has kept the home hopes alive at the Queen's Championships as he's moved into the quarter-finals after beating Adrian Manarino. The world number 140 has reached his first ATP Tour quarter-final with a 7-6, 6-4 victory over the veteran Frenchman. And finally in tennis, and British stalwart Dan Evans will have to go through qualifying to make the main draw of the men's singles at Wimbledon after missing out on a wild card. The 36-year-old, who announced last week that he would end his tennis career after the Grand Slam, had hoped to receive one of the 8 singles wildcards to guarantee an emotional final appearance at his home Grand Slam. However, the final remaining places were awarded to British pair Harry Wendelken and Felix Gill on Wednesday. That's for now. We'll have more later. Here are your latest sporting headlines. I'm James Mason. We'll begin in football, and Fulham Vice Chair and Director of Football Operations Tony Khan says there are currently 2 standout candidates to replace Marco Silva, who have had several meetings with the board. It's understood the Cottagers have been advancing in talks with Alvaro Arbeloa, who spent the second half of last season in charge of Real Madrid. But in an interview with club media, Khan has suggested that there is no frontrunner for the job at this stage. However, he said that 2 candidates have met with the board several times. Sticking in football, and Rangers and RB Salzburg have completed a deal for Danny Roll to join the Austrian Bundesliga outfit. The 37-year-old will depart despite insisting he was committed to the summer rebuild at the Ibrox club. Also in football, and midfielder Bernardo Silva has joined Real Madrid on a 2-year deal, linking up with manager Jose Mourinho. Silva left Man City at the end of last season, bringing an end to a trophy-laden 9-year spell. Also in football, and Hull could face points deductions in the Premier League in the upcoming season. The Tigers have an overspend of about £6 million on their profit and sustainability calculation. Under the English Football League rules, that could lead to a 6-point penalty. Cycling now, and Belgium's Wout van Aert is set to miss next month's Tour de France with an elbow injury. The 31-year-old is a key rider for his team Visma alongside 4-time Grand Tour winner Jonas Vingegaard. Van Aert he suffered the injury after falling in training before last week's Tour of Rhône-Alpes stage in France, and an infection developed in his elbow. Moving on to rugby union now, and Max Ajoma and Noah Kalori will have the chance to press their case for test starts after being named in the England backline to take on a France 15 in a non-cap match in Van on Friday. Centre Ajoma scored a try and was named player of the match in the win over Argentina in November, but he's not played for his country since. 19-year-old Kalori, who has spelled out his ambition to make his England debut this summer, topped the Prem Gallagher's season try-scoring charts and dominated opponents airily in a sensational breakout season with Saracens. Cricket now, and day one of the second test of the Oval between New Zealand and England is finally poised after the opening day. New Zealand were put into bat after England won the toss, and they reached 291 for 7 at the close of play. Tom Blundell made the highest score of the day. He made 51. As for England, where their top bowler was Sonny Baker making his debut, he took 2 for 63, and Jacob Bethell picked up 2 cheap wickets late on, as he had figures of 2 for 8 from his 5 overs. Archer, Fisher and Tongue all took 1 wicket. And finally, now finishing with a couple of stories in tennis, and British number 5 Arthur Ferry has kept the home hopes alive at the Queen's Championships as he's moved into the quarter-finals after beating Adrian Manarino. The world number 140 has reached his first ATP Tour quarter-final with a 7-6, 6-4 victory over the veteran Frenchman. And finally in tennis, and British stalwart Dan Evans will have to go through qualifying to make the main draw of the men's singles at Wimbledon after missing out on a wild card. The 36-year-old, who announced last week that he would end his tennis career after the Grand Slam, had hoped to receive one of the 8 singles wildcards to guarantee an emotional final appearance at his home Grand Slam. However, the final remaining places were awarded to British pair Harry Wendelken and Felix Gill on Wednesday. That's for now. We'll have more later. Here are your latest sporting headlines. I'm James Mason. We'll begin in football, and Fulham Vice Chair and Director of Football Operations Tony Khan says there are currently two standout candidates to replace Bernardo Silva, who have had several meetings with the board. It's understood the cottagers have been advancing in talks with Alvaro Arbeloa, who spent the second half of last season in charge of Real Madrid. But in an interview with club media, Khan has suggested that there is no frontrunner for the job at this stage. However, he said that two candidates have met with the board several times. Sticking in football, and Rangers and RB Salzburg have completed a deal for Danny Roll to join the Austrian and Bundesliga outfit. The 37-year-old will depart despite insisting he was committed to the summer rebuild at the Ibrox club. Also in football, midfielder Bernardo Silva has joined Real Madrid on a 2-year deal, linking up with manager Jose Mourinho. Silva left Man City at the end of last season, bringing an end to a trophy-laden 9-year spell. Also in football, and Hull could face points deductions in the Premier League in the upcoming season. The Tigers have an overspend of about £6 million on their profit and sustainability calculation. Under the English Football League rules, that could lead to a 6-point penalty. Cycling now, and Belgium's Wout van Aert is set to miss next month's Tour de France with an elbow injury. The 31-year-old is a key rider for his team Visma alongside four-time Grand Tour winner Jonas Vingegaard. Van Aert he suffered the injury after falling in training before last week's Tour Avon-Rhône-Alpes stage in France, and an infection developed in his elbow. Moving on to rugby union now, and Max Ajoma and Noah Kalori will have the chance to press their case for test starts after being named in the England backline to take on a France 15 in a non-cap match in Van on Friday. Centre Ajoma scored a try and was named player of the match at the win over Argentina in November, but he's not played for his country since. 19-year-old Kalori, who has spelled out his ambition to make his England debut this summer, topped the Prem Gallagher's season try-scoring charts and dominated opponents aerially in a sensational breakout season with Saracens. Cricket now, and day one of the second test of the Oval between New Zealand and England is finally poised after the opening day. New Zealand were put into bat after England won the toss, and they reached 291 for 7 at the close of play. Tom Blundell made the highest score of the day. He made 51. As for England, where their top bowler was Sonny Baker making his debut, he took 2 for 63, and Jacob Bethell picked up 2 cheap wickets late on as he had figures of 2 for 8 from his 5 overs. Archer, Fisher and Tongue all took 1 wicket. And finally, now finishing with a couple of stories in tennis, and British number 5 Arthur Ferry has kept the home hopes alive at the Queen's Championships as he's moved into the quarter-finals after beating Adrian Manarino. The world number 140 has reached his first ATP Tour quarter-final with a 7-6, 6-4 victory over the veteran Frenchman. And finally in tennis, and British stalwart Dan Evans will have to go through qualifying to make the main draw of the men's singles at Wimbledon after missing out on a wild card. The 36-year-old, who announced last week that he would end his tennis career after the Grand Slam, had hoped to receive one of the 8 singles wildcards to guarantee an emotional final appearance at his home Grand Slam. However, the final remaining places were awarded to British pair Harry Wendelken and Felix Gill on Wednesday. That's for now. We'll have more later. Here are your latest sporting headlines. I'm James Mason. We'll begin in football, and Fulham Vice Chair and Director of Football Operations Tony Khan says there are currently two standout candidates to replace Bernardo Silva, who have had several meetings with the board. It's understood the cottagers have been advancing in talks with Alvaro Arbeloa, who spent the second half of last season in charge of Real Madrid. But in an interview with club media, Khan has suggested that there is no frontrunner for the job at this stage. However, he said that two candidates have met with the board several times. Sticking in football, and Rangers and RB Salzburg have completed a deal for Danny Roll to join the Austrian and Bundesliga outfit. The 37-year-old will depart despite insisting he was committed to the summer rebuild at the Ibrox club. Also in football, midfielder Bernardo Silva has joined Real Madrid on a 2-year deal, linking up with manager Jose Mourinho. Silva left Man City at the end of last season, bringing an end to a trophy-laden 9-year spell. Also in football, and Hull could face points deductions in the Premier League in the upcoming season. The Tigers have an overspend of about £6 million on their profit and sustainability calculation. Under the English Football League rules, that could lead to a 6-point penalty. Cycling now, and Belgium's Wout van Aert is set to miss next month's Tour de France with an elbow injury. The 31-year-old is a key rider for his team Visma alongside four-time Grand Tour winner Jonas Vingegaard. Van Aert he suffered the injury after falling in training before last week's Tour Avon-Rhône-Alpes stage in France, and an infection developed in his elbow. Moving on to rugby union now, and Max Ajoma and Noah Kalori will have the chance to press their case for test starts after being named in the England backline to take on a France 15 in a non-cap match in Van on Friday. Centre Ajoma scored a try and was named player of the match in the win over Argentina in November, but he's not played for his country since. 19-year-old Kalori, who was spelled out his ambition to make his England debut this summer, topped the Prem Gallagher's season try-scoring charts and dominated opponents airily in a sensational breakout season with Saracens. Cricket now, and day one of the second test of the Oval between New Zealand and England is finally poised after the opening day. New Zealand were put into bat after England won the toss, and they reached 291 for 7 at the close of play. Tom Blundell made the highest score of the day. He made 51. As for England, where their top bowler
group games for both Spain and Saudi Arabia, both sides starting the tournament with draws. Spain, very disappointing, one of the shocks of the tournament so far, to draw 0-0 with debutants Cape Verde, but Saudi Arabia will be pleased with the battling spirit they showed to earn a 1-1 draw against Uruguay, a match where they did lead but had to soak up a lot of pressure in the second half. It's myself, Tom McGarry and Josh Makin. They'll be talking you through the full 90 minutes of this game, which is taking place in Atlanta. It has got underway. Spain in their traditional red and navy blue colours, going from left to right in the first half. We imagine they're going to dominate possession, and they're immediately settling into that pattern with Lamine Yamal, who's back in the starting 11, bustling down the right hand side, showing strength and skill before delivering a dangerous cross into the box that is headed clear by Hassan Al-Tambakdi. And Saudi Arabia are in all white this evening. And Josh, part of the game, less than a minute gone, seems to be already set.
Yeah, and that's Lamine Yamal straight away on the ball like that. Didn't start in that game, did he, against Cape Verde? And they looked really toothless in attack. I don't think Ferran Torres and Gavi were able to provide the spark on the wings. So it's no surprise that Yamal's come back in now. Obviously he had a bit of an injury problem, so that's a big relief for the Spanish fans being able to see him. We've already seen him get at the full-backs as well. They're going to be trying to double up on him, but it's going to be such a tough job with how quick he is. It's a good ball into the box there, headed away. You just think Saudi Arabia are going to have to soak up a lot of pressure in this game, even more than we did against Uruguay. They weren't too far away, as you were saying, from getting all 3 points in that one. I think it was in the last 10 minutes, wasn't it, that Marcelo Bielsa's team managed to get the equaliser. This is an entirely different test against what we still do expect to be one of the tournament favourites.
Yeah, the reigning European champions, Spain, with a bit of a point to prove, and that could be to the detriment of Saudi Arabia as they come forward again, this time down the left-hand side. Striker comes in towards goal from Alex Baena, deflects over the top. It will be the game's first corner. In terms of the team news, if you missed it ahead of kick-off, Lamine Yamal is the headline returnee for Spain. One of 4 changes. Pedro Porro, Dani Olmo, and the man who just had that shot, Alex Baena, have come in. Ferran Torres, Gavi, Fabian Ruiz and Marcus Llorente drop out. 2 changes for Saudi Arabia. Ali Layami and Nasser Al-Dassari have come into the 11. I'll run you through the 11s in full as well after this. Lamine Yamal corner, which he takes short towards Baena, towards the edge of the area now with Pedri, and back Yamal. First time crossing to the box, not his best. Cleared away up towards halfway. Spain have Unai Simon in goal then. Pedro Porro, Pau Kabasi, Aymeric Laporte and Marc Cucurella, the back 4. Pedri and Rodri in front of them, with Lamine Yamal, Dani Olmo and Alex Baena supporting Mikel Oyarzabal up front. For Saudi Arabia, Mohamed Al-Owais in goal. Saud Abdul Hamid, Hassan Al-Tambakdi, Ali Yami and Abdullah Al-Amri, who scored their goal against Uruguay, are the back 4 as Spain again come forward with Yamal. Cross towards the far post, nodded back by Baena, but into the grateful gloves of Al-Owais. Just to complete the Saudi Arabia lineup in midfield, Nasser Al-Dassari, Abdullah Al-Kaibari and Majab Al-Jawaya, with Feras Al-Brikan and Salem Al-Dassari, the captain, up front. But saying those 2 are up front for Saudi Arabia, I don't think anyone in white so far has got over the halfway line. No,
they're settling into defend, aren't they? I mean, you see it immediately with the formation they're playing. It looks like a 5-4-1 and just having everyone on deck at the moment. Spain are trying to start fast, as you would expect them to do so. It took them so long to really even sort of get it. Cape Verde, it was only when Yamal came on they finally looked more threatening. They want that early goal in this one. It'll just help settle them down. It's quite interesting as well to see the last time Spain actually scored in the World Cup as Yamal blasts a shot over the bar from range. They've actually nearly gone 5 hours of World Cup football now without a goal. That came in the 2022 World Cup in a 2-1 loss to Japan. So despite of course they won Euro 2024, it doesn't mean too much. They've not been great in World Cups as of late.
No, they've struggled. They've not won a knockout game at the World Cup since they lifted the trophy 16 years ago in South Africa. losing in the round of 16 in 2018 and in 2022. Didn't get out the group as defending champions in 2014, so desperate to really get their competition going. And as we mentioned, they've started this one strongly, but still no goal to show. Spain 0, Saudi Arabia 0. About 4.5 minutes on the clock. The other thing to mention with this game, like quite a few at the tournament, it is being played with the roof closed in Atlanta, so it should be fairly pleasant conditions rather than the stifling heat that some of the games have been played in so far in the tournament. So Arabia will be doing a lot of chasing out of possession. Will be grateful for that as Spain again look to come forward. Baini, who's been lively so far down the left hand side, drifts it into Pedri, cross into the box aimed at Dani Olmo, who'd made a late run, led away by Liami, picked up now by Pedro Porro, the Tottenham Hotspur fullback, just signed a new contract with Roberto De Zerbi's side. Into Aymeric Laporte and back to goalkeeper Unai Simon, who's going to see a lot of the ball at his feet probably, but you can't imagine he's going to have too many saves to make, certainly in these early exchanges.
No, he certainly won't, but you imagine he's got to be alert though still, hasn't he? I think when goalkeepers aren't involved in the game, maybe can just lose the concentration a little bit. He's going to have to try and stick with that throughout this game. He might be called upon at one point, and Spain might need him to deliver as they go on the attack again now with Porro.
Yeah, Porro across the position, right hand side, low delivery into the box. Al Tambakdi is there to clear away, but it'll be picked up once more by a player in red, Lamine Yamal, dropping deep to take on his man. Al-Dasari, the Saudi Arabia captain, who's tracking him. Will go infield now to Kubasi, and they'll chance their arm down the left Spain with Marc Cucurella. Joined Real Madrid. It goes into Rodri. 30 yards from the Saudi Arabia goal. Just about, I think everyone is behind the ball for Saudi Arabia. Pedri takes over, edge of the box. Baina to scoop it over the top towards Pedri, who's continued his run, but a little bit tight and congested in there from a Spanish point of view, and Saudi Arabia might now be able to break clear down the left-hand side. It's the left-back Al-Amri who's into an advanced position. There are two players in the box. He holds it up well, goes back towards Salema Al-Dasari, now into Al-Brakan, who won't quite stick with him, ricocheting away into the gloves of Unai Simon, and to get going on the right-hand side again.
Yeah, first real move of the game that though for Saudi Arabia. It's a distant little breakaway. Pedro Porro's not really in the right sort of position there. It just allows Al-Abi to dart down that left wing. There's a lot of space for him to drive into. Ultimately the attack does just about fall short in the end. The striker Al-Burakan can't quite get it under his spell. It's a decent bit of encouragement for the Saudis.
Yeah, and that's going to be the game plan, isn't it? They're not going to be able to break forward too often. They're not going to see much of the ball, but they have to try and catch Spain out when they do quickly turn the ball over. As again, Spain coming forward. Pedri cross to Porro. It's outside him, and this is the teenager who's left-footed across towards the far post. Should be headed away comfortably enough, and is. Ball will drop though to Pedri, and now Cucurella to Baina on the left-hand side. Cucurella points where he wants the ball and just couldn't quite get there ahead of the challenger. They came in there from Abdullah Al-Khaibari to put it behind for Spain's second corner of the game.
Yeah, good defending there in the end. They're having to soak up a lot of pressure really does the Saudi Arabians, but they look organised, they look well disciplined. They'll trust themselves as well. They've pulled off some big results before in the World Cup. Of course, they beat Argentina in the first game of the 2022 World Cup, so they know they can get it done against the better sides. Spain is going to be a tough test for them, but they're doing okay so far.
Drilled towards Dani Olmo on the edge of the box, who took that first time on the volley. Very difficult skill, just coming away from the ball as well, and couldn't get his foot over it. Goes well over the top of the crossbar, but more inventive there from Spain. Mal has been part of everything really they've done so far in this game. 41 assists in the season just gone for Barcelona. To apply some magic right after the game against Cape Verde. He only played about 15-20 minutes or so, but he completed more dribbles than any other player on the pitch.
Yeah, it doesn't come as a surprise as well. I mean, you look at the Spain team, and there's obviously a lot of quality throughout, but then you look in the attacking areas, and they don't look light, but there's not that much star quality other than Lamine Yamal. Oyarzabal, of course, has scored big goals. He scored the win in the Euro final. The likes of Baina, Ferran Torres as well hasn't always done too great, and they weren't very happy with his performance against Cape Verde. So it's not a surprise to see, get it to Yamal whenever they go forward, and he's going to be at the heart of absolutely everything. They've just got to try and keep him fit throughout this tournament. They will go far if he is playing. You can certainly expect that, but if they come down the other side.
Baena, left-hand side, cross into the box, flicked clear. Getting out of the penalty area initially, and Spain will pick the ball up once again. 9 minutes on the clock. Spain 0, Saudi Arabia 0. But so far, one-way traffic. The European champions coming forward again. Porro strikes from the edge of the area, but always rising over the top of Ahmed Al-Oaisi's goal. And similar to what we saw for large spells against Cape Verde, Spain are dominating the ball, but as of yet, really created anything.
No, they haven't so far. It's almost 10 minutes in, and it's sort of just been reduced to those pop shots, aren't they, from outside the area. Lamal's had one, Baena as well. Now Pedro Porro is the next to have one as well. It's never really looking like going in, though. It's a tough angle. He's going to have to take something special again for him to try and find the top corner from that sort of range. Spain again, well, they want to be patient. They also want to, be trying to get those big chances, and they might actually get one now.
Yeah, Yafabal down the left-hand side. First real involvement for the centre forward. It's a brilliant ball into the box, and Yamal turns the ball into the back of the net. Of course, it's Lamine Yamal who has the decisive say to break the deadlock in this game, but a lot of the credit has to go to a man who was criticised after his performance against Cape Verde. It's a brilliant assist from Mikel Oyarzabal.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. He didn't have a touch in the first 30 minutes of that game, did he? Against Cape Verde, but what a ball that is across the face of goal. Lamine Yamal, of course, will get the credit for the goal, but it all has to go to Oyarzabal for that play there. He makes that run down the left channel, gets behind the fullbacks, and that's what they couldn't do against Cape Verde. They couldn't get in behind and create those sort of chances. They finally get that one chance though on a play. Lamine Yamal arriving at the back post, his first ever goal in the World Cup. I imagine that's going to be the first of many as well. Really important goal for Spain. They're finally up and running in this World Cup, and that will just help them out massively now.
Yeah, 7th international goal for Lamine Yamal, and it's a brilliant ball from Oyarzabal. Good run from him to start with to make himself an option. Baena plays it round the corner. He drills it low into the 6-yard box, around all the defenders, and Yamal, the angle's tight, he slides in. He still has a little bit of work to do, but the quality of the cross is really what makes that goal, and it's exactly what Spain needed. An early goal in this game just to settle some of the nerves and wipe away the disappointment, or some of that disappointment from the draw with Cape Verde. But work now for Saudi Arabia to do. We're looking to come forward down the right hand side. I don't think plan A will go out the window just yet. They'll want to try and hang in there at 1-0 for as long as they can, but certainly won't want to have conceded an early goal. There's a little bit of rare possession inside the Spain half, but the Brazilian referee has given the throw in favour of the Spanish. But yeah, it's not the start that Saudi Arabia were looking for. I can't imagine they're going to change things up too much. No,
I don't think they've got those sort of options, have they, to change it up. I imagine the word for the manager will just be to try and stick in there for the time being. Don't go and concede another one or two quickly like that and let the game get away from you in the first half. Just try and stick with Spain as much as you can, and hopefully they just need that one chance and they need it to go in. That might get them back into the game. It's going to be a long old slog for them now, though. You imagine Spain have got the tails up. They finally got their first goal. They've got that confidence behind them. Yamal is up and running as well. As I say, that's a rare lapse in concentration for him as he lets the ball go on his feet and out for a throw-in.
Infantino, the FIFA president, is watching on, as he has been for many of the games. Well, there's a mistake at the back. Al-Khaibari's given the ball away. Yamal slides it through. I don't think he was looking for Baena. It almost came from Al-Oais. The goalkeeper makes sure it doesn't, and then Pedri on the follow-up, a poor finish by his high standards, sends the ball over the top of the crossbar. Yeah, not great there from Pedri. He's screaming at his teammate to just leave that one for him. Probably rightfully so. He is in the best position to shoot there. He gets it all wrong. It is on his weaker left foot. He's just leaning back a little bit too much in there. The keeper comes out for it, as he should do. Oyarzabal leads it, and Pedri just skies that one into the stands. It's nowhere near in the end, but Spain looking for that quick fire goal. Doesn't arrive for them on this occasion, though. Yeah, just didn't ever look really comfortable there, Pedri, although Oyarzabal moved out the way. I think there's still an element of hesitation in the way he struck that ball, but another decent opportunity there for Spain. If they can get a quick fire second, then even at this early stage of the match, they could well take things completely away from Saudi Arabia. Oasis' goal kick is up by Baena. Heads of the ball there from Oyarzabal. It'll drop for Rodri in the middle of the park. Now Porro on halfway, dominating the early exchanges in this game. They've got the goal lead, 80% possession in their favour as well. It's like a little bit more than that. They've been that dominant in the opening nearly 14 minutes. Olmo on it to Rodri. Pedri, first touch is good. Feeds it onto Baena on the left-hand side. Cucurella in support. Baena drifts on his right foot, gives it to Cucurella. Cucurella's cut back is cleared away at the front post by Altabakdi, and kept in on the far side as well, quite effectively by Al-Dasari. Again, stick though for Saudi Arabia as they get towards the halfway line, and Spain will go again.
Yeah, looked an actual promising counter-attack they had on there for a moment. I just wonder if that ball could be released a little bit earlier, but Al-Burakan is making the run there through defenders, and the man behind him just doesn't quite notice it for the time being. He sort of delays it. By the time he thinks about playing the pass, there's too many Spain players in the way of him. And the attack does just slightly break down. First real attack for Saudi Arabia since the first goal, and if you can call it that, and yeah, it doesn't really lead to anything.
Can't get a foothold in the game at the moment, Saudi Arabia. Just Donis his side. Yeah, crosses, or more of a shot than anything from the corner of the box for Spain that goes well over the top of the crossbar. But Georges Donis will be a familiar name to supporters of Sheffield United, Blackburn Rovers and Huddersfield Town. Had relatively brief spells with all three of those teams in the 1990s. In charge of Saudi Arabia these days, a Greece international himself. As a foul on the far side by Ina, penalised there for bringing down Musab Al-Jawair. A little bit of respite for Saudi Arabia. They've not even really had a free kick situation like this where they could just try and take some of the sting out of the game. No,
they haven't been able to sort of go side to side or anything like that, have they? It's been all Spain in this opening 15.5 minutes. Real relentless stuff in the end from Fuentes' team. That's exactly what they wanted to do though coming into this one. Now you'd think maybe Saudi Arabia would just actually choose to keep possession with this free kick and take the sting out of it. They've actually just gone long, giving it straight back to Spain.
It's not what Saudi Arabia need. They try and get hold of the ball as best they can. Spain dominating in every aspect. Porro has it down the right hand side, midway in his own half, gives it infield to Rodri. Across now to his former Manchester City teammate, I should say, Aymeric Laporte. Into Saudi Arabia territory with no real pressure on him before switching it out to Yamal, who's up against Al Amri. To his left foot, crosses a tantalising one just too far in front of Dani Olmo. Alaves will be able to gather comfortably enough, but every opportunity they get Spain, they're looking towards Yamal on that right hand side, and he's not necessarily creating it every opportunity. A threat as the shot comes in from the edge of the area. Alaves has to get down to his right hand side to make the save. That might be not Yafabal who unleashed that one, and another tester for the Saudi Arabia goalkeeper. Yeah, there's some real power on this one, isn't it, from Ayafabal. He just gets that yard on the defenders as well. That's destined for the bottom right corner, but ultimately the keeper, he does see it all the way in the end, the bottom left corner I should say, sees it all the way, and he gets down nicely just to parry it away to the side. Doesn't even parry it towards the centre where there's another striker waiting, just gets it away, and safely so. Again, Spain, they're just looking in the mood, aren't they, at the moment now? You can imagine that that second goal isn't too far away if the Saudi Arabians keep up this. This is the fourth meeting between Spain and Saudi Arabia. It won't surprise anyone that Spain have won the previous three. 5-0 in there in a friendly the last time they met in 2012. Only 1-0 when they met at the World Cup, or the only previous time they met at the World Cup back in group stage in 2006. Saudi Arabia trailing in this game to hold the group stage. Saudi Arabia for the first time since 1994 with Hassan Al-Tambakti. This is a bit of Saudi possession. To say that, they give it away before reaching the halfway line, and Spain can look to build once again. Kubasi, Barcelona centre-back, plays it across towards Aymeric Laporte. Again, rigidly in a 4-1 shape Saudi Arabia. Ball played in behind it. Yafabal will get there first and tries to help it beyond Alaves, who came out quickly to close the angle. Wasn't the kind of contact that Mikel Yafabal was looking for, and ball safely brought away now by Saudi Arabia, and Spain will have to build again. Yeah, they certainly will. Yamal's actually just took that one straight out of play there for a throw-in, but I mean, it's good play from Yafabal again, getting in behind like he has done a few times already in this game. That's how he set the first goal. If he then tries to turn provider again, there's no one making that run though into the centre of the box. If someone just gambles and goes for it, they might have a bit of a tapping. Ball goes forward now, looking for Yamal. The Saudi Arabian defender should be able to just let that one behind for a goal kick. Yeah, decent defending from Tab Al-Harbi. Ball declined for a goalkeeper. Well, Yafabal is certainly having more involvement than he did in the Cape Verde game. Clearly grateful to have been given the chance to remain in the starting 11 with Ferran Torres. Gavi dropping out after disappointing in that match, but De La Fuente keeping faith with Ayafabal. He's had a couple of efforts towards goal. He's had that brilliant assist for the only goal of the game so far as well for Lamine Yamal. And he's got to fancy in this game, the way things are going at the moment, that there's a couple of goals out there for him.
Yeah, there definitely is. It feels like Spain can really sort of take advantage of this game so far, and they are getting a lot of joy, especially now they've got that first goal. It hasn't really forced Saudi Arabia out of their shell that much. They're still trying to remain organised and defensive at the back, but as the game progresses you can see them just sort of wiltering a little bit, and there's a chance for Spain to really score some goals. They just build the confidence up again and remind everyone, you know, why they are probably a lot of the people's pre-tournament favourites.
Yeah, there's a big incentive as well to go on and win this group for Spain, because in all likelihood the runners-up in Group H will play Argentina in the round of 32 as the ball deflects kindly for Ayafabal. He's in behind, might have a chance on goal, but it's a brilliant saving challenge coming back in. I think it might have been Layami who got in with the sliding lunge. Al-Tambakti was across on the cover too, but yeah, it's Ali Layami who, with that challenge, potentially stopped the second Spain goal. Yeah,
it's fantastic defending, isn't it? I just think Ayafabal, he takes one touch that's a little bit wider than he'd like. It just invites the two Saudi defenders to come and try and tackle him. In the end, Layami times it absolutely perfectly. You notice Ayafabal there, if he gets his dribbling a little bit better, maybe even goes for goal a little bit earlier, he's got a good chance of scoring, but in the end it's a fantastic tackle and Spanish corner to come.
Yeah, whipped in towards the front post, flicked on by Ayafabal, who's everywhere at the moment, comes to Olmo. His shot dragged across the goal, still not cleared by Saudi Arabia, and it's helped into the back of the net, and Mikel Ayafabal has got his goal. It's some pretty haphazardous defending from a Saudi Arabia point of view. They had a couple of opportunities to clear their lines, they didn't. Ayafabal, like a good striker does, nicks in with the outside of his left foot, doubles Spain's lead.
Yeah, a lot of times when you do concede to Spain, you can sort of be forgiven for how good of a team Spain are. However, this is just poor from Saudi Arabia. They should be defending this one a lot better and getting it clear at a much earlier position. Ayafabal has really taken the criticism from that first game on board, hasn't he? He's been absolutely everywhere in this opening 21 minutes. Ball comes towards the near post. It's his header initially. That sort of keeps it alive. No question of offside as well. He's being played on there, isn't he, by the number 3, Layami. And just bounces for him. He's 2 foot close to the goal. Keeper comes out off his line. He gets a touch on it, but he can't stop it from going into the net. Spain now have a comfortable lead.
Yeah, it would seem so. He is in an offside position when Olmo has the shot, though. There's at least one more phase of play, isn't there, after that? And certainly when it's nodded down to him the second time, he's being played on by at least a couple of Saudi Arabia defenders, and it's a really cool finish from Mikel Ayafabal. Goal and an assist to his name. I'd say he's not a goal to his name. They are just delaying taking the restart. Thumbs up though now from the referee Rafael Klaus of Brazil. So VAR checked it. The goal stands. 9 goals in his last 8 appearances for Spain for Mikel Ayafabal. That's one of the reasons his goal scoring record why Luis De La Fuente did keep the faith with him after the poor showing against Cape Verde, and as Josh mentioned earlier on, he's the man who scored the winning goal in the European Championship final against England just 2 years ago. But Spain leading Saudi Arabia now by 2 goals to 0. Value for that 2-goal lead as well, based on what we've seen so far in this game, and they may try and come forward again. Well, on this occasion, though, touch gets away from him, although again, Saudi Arabia, the architects of their own downfall. Al-Harbi's given the ball away. Yamal on the right-hand side, first-time cross into the box. He's deep, too deep initially, but Alex Baena will keep it in on the left. We'll try and take on Abdul Hamid. Also drifting on that right foot, and he towards goal is closed down, so he switches it across to Porro. He'll lift the ball towards the back post. Cucurella nods it down for Olmo, and it'll come to Ayafabal again. 2 for him, 3 for Spain. It's a fantastic opening 23 minutes of his game for the European champions. A tap-in for Ayafabal for his second of the match.
Yeah, they're completely firing now, aren't they? Really looking dangerous at this point in the game. Spain, you fear for Saudi Arabia. I mean, this could be an absolute battering. They're on the cusp of imploding in Atlanta for the time being, but this is just wonderful football from Spain. You can maybe say that the second goal was a tad fortunate for Ayafabal. This one is absolutely fantastically worked. It starts with Porro, touchdown, great cross towards that far post. That's what they've been aiming for. Cucurella arrives unmarked. It's a header towards the back post then from Olmo. Ayafabal again keeps himself onside, no one marking him, and it's a simple finish into that top right corner. Again, good celebrations there for the Spaniards. We know again, they really can put some daylight between themselves and Saudi Arabia. Even before the half-time break, wouldn't be surprised if they can get maybe 4 or even 5 in this one. If Saudi Arabia just completely capitulating, and 3-0.
I mean, just playing Oyafabal on leading Saudi Arabia by 3 goals to 0. Arabia will be 8-0 by Germany at the World Cup in 2002. Two nervous thoughts about something similar in this game. We have gone beyond the midway point though in this first half. We've not the drinks break as of yet, but this gives us a good opportunity to hand over to Josh to take you through to the half-time whistle.
Yeah, thank you very much, Tom. We might actually be seeing the hydration break now in the next few moments. We are as well, so it might come at a good time as well, you'd say, for Saudi Arabia, being completely ran through at the moment. As Tom said, this game is being played inside, so it'll be quite as hot and humid. However, the temperature in Atlanta is expected to get up to around 30 degrees in the late afternoon just after this game, so it's still possibly necessary for this one. Both sides just getting some fluids on board and getting a few talkings from the managers. De La Fuente will be a lot happier with what he's seen from his side in this game. I feel like it's the perfect one, isn't it, for Spain after that Cape Verde result, just to go on, not only for themselves, but I think just to show everyone else, you know, why they are such a well-respected side, why many people do think they are going to win their second ever World Cup. To start the game in this fashion certainly just restores that faith.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, there's no easy game at the World Cup, really, is there? Cape Verde were really up for it, and I think they're a better team than maybe they were getting credit for in the build-up to that game, and maybe Uruguay and Saudi Arabia will find that out as this group stage goes on. But you know, they just couldn't break down a well-organised team, so they've had a few days to lick their wounds, haven't they? They've had to soak up the criticism from the world press, never mind the Spanish press, and they've come out like a team that wanted to prove a point. Of course, having Lamine Yamal back in the starting lineup has been a real positive, and he's got the first goal. But everyone has stepped up in this game in a Spanish shirt, and yeah, they're in a really comfortable position now where you can't see it anyway really back into the game for Saudi Arabia, and Spain can manage things like that. We know they can. They're really good at managing game management, and they're hoping to just see themselves comfortably through to set up that final group game against Uruguay. Yeah,
the Spanish press can be particularly unforgiving, of course, especially when it comes to the national team as well. You just think for Saudi Arabia as well, have they already got, you know, sort of one eye on that Cape Verde game? They probably won't have expected to get anything out of this game against Spain. They got that point against Uruguay, which was big. If they can beat Cape Verde, you'd imagine that's probably enough to see them through to the round of 32.
Yeah, it should be either in second place or as one of the best placed third teams. And yeah, that's possibly in their mind. I mean, they wouldn't want to be in this situation 3-0 down so early in this game, but something of a free hit, wasn't it, knowing that they had the Cape Verde game in their back pocket. We might see something similar later on when Uruguay take on Cape Verde, with those two teams aiming at the final group fixture, where it would potentially be a shootout between Cape Verde and Saudi Arabia to get into the knockout stages.
Yeah, game is about ready to get back underway by the looks of things. The hydration break has been completed. 27.5 minutes in Atlanta. Spain 3, Saudi Arabia 0, and Al Harbi is just about ready to take this throw in for Saudi Arabia. It's just in front of the halfway line. So just waiting for the final approval actually from the referee, who's over on this far side. Alphabal now on a hat-trick and looking to really make this emphatic one for Spain. Just restore the national pride in the team. Al Harbi takes the throw in, it goes forward. It's headed though by Porro up towards Bayern in the centre. He heads it on now for Alphabal, now back towards Bayern. He's got space on that left side if he wants it, but instead goes back towards Kabasi and eventually towards Unai Simon, on the goalkeeper, who we've barely had to mention so far, hasn't had a save to make. Porro now towards the Alphabal, with so much more confidence. Nice back heel towards Yamal, and Spain almost thought they were running again there. The ball goes forward from Saudi Arabia. It's deflected, and Kabasi should pick it up by the touchline. He's got the striker Al-Barakan for company of owning. You see him in the end, forced to go long for him. It's a bit of a shove there from the Alphabal, but it was with his shoulders, so it's okay according to the referee. And Spain have got the ball back on the floor. Porro now back towards Kabasi. The defenders as well as Unai Simon. We haven't seen too much of them. Just getting some possession out at the back, just a few passes between each other. Spain have had 57% possession of the ball when it's been in congestion as well. So they've had a lot more than that just in general. So the port now surges down the left side. Space for Rodri in the centre. That's a good ball towards Bainer, and Spain are running again now. Bainer up towards the edge of the box, left-footed ball comes in, it's Layami who gets it out. It's back towards Baima though. Kukurea available on the follow-up. Abdulhamid with the clearance, so it's only as far as Olmo this time. Saudi Arabia still can't quite get out of their own defensive third. Baina again. It's the ball into the centre, he finds Olmo as well, checks away from his man, he's still going, it's Danny Olmo, brilliant run from him, out towards Pedri, he can't play through the lines this time. And say as well, can't do it, he's tackled, now it's Yamal with the curling effort, a wild effort in the end there from the Barcelona man. Pedro Porro's gone down with an injury in the meantime, don't think a free kick was given as a result of it, and again they're not one of Yamal's best efforts.
No, he just cut inside his left foot and never was able to wrap around it like he was looking for a bit of a wild finish there. There is a yellow card though to the Saudi Arabia captain, I think it's Salem Al-Dasari for that challenge. Porro in the build. He catches Pedro Porro too much and just treads on the top of his foot slightly, but first yellow card of the game goes to Salem Al-Dasari.
Yeah, the Saudi Arabian captain, the first man to be shown a yellow card in this game. And the Brazilian referee Rafael Klaus. And play will continue from the goal kick, which Alawas can send long up the field. It's headed on nicely as well there by Al Burakan, and almost a chance you feel for Al Jawari. We can't quite bring it down, and it's gone forward again from Spain, but only headed towards Lamine Yamal. Half an hour gone in Atlanta, Spain 3, Saudi Arabia 0, and Spain starting to look in the mood again and looking to get that fourth goal. Rodri across towards Laporte. Kukurea available over towards his left, but instead chooses Kabasi again. Nice football from Spain for the time being, even if they're not really going anywhere with it. Pedro now towards Laporte. Kukurea again is free on that overlap. He's dangerous so far. Ball looking for Danny Olmo in the end. It's just beyond his reach and ultimately all the way through to the goalkeeper.
Yeah, Spain are the most dangerous when they're attacking down the flanks. That's where the space is, where it's on the right with Porro and Yamal, or Baina and Cucurella on the left. Every time they try and come through the middle, Saudi Arabia is so compact, they're getting so many bodies behind the ball, it's very difficult for Spain to find a route through. It's just a bit too congested in there.
Saudi Arabia might be able to launch an attack now. That's a good play there from the striker again. Al Burakan, he's just not able to keep the ball for more than a few seconds. It's pretty intense at the moment, this press from Spain. It feels like every time the Saudi Arabian players get the ball, there's around 3 red shirts ready to take it off them. Porro again now for Spain, down the line looking for Yamal. Arabi sticks a foot in, but Olmo will keep hold of it. Rodri almost challenged there by Al Jawaya. Report now over towards Kukurea, so has it a little bit short, but the former Chelsea man stood to keep hold of it. It's a heavy touch actually, and Saudi Arabia have got the chance now to get forward down that right hand side. It's Abdulhamid shown the other way though in the end, and now back towards his defence in the form of Layami. They're not going to take any risk with that one. It's back towards the keeper, Alawais. Sends it long again, searching ball, which is only going to be met by the head of Kabasi. No pressure on that, so Spain can start moving again. Rodri through the centre, sliding tackle comes in, a brilliant one as well from Layami. Been one of Saudi Arabia's best players so far. That's not really saying much. He's obviously made that fantastic sliding tackle early in the game. A good challenge from him again there. He's won his side back to more possession. Here he's again at the heart of defence. Al-Tambakti. Nice long ball through the centre, looking for the run of Salem Al-Dasari. It's over his head, asking too much there of his captain, and once again all the way through towards Unai Simon. Of course, the other game in this group match, as Tom mentioned, takes place later this evening. Uruguay against Cape Verde. Interesting to figure out whether Marcelo Bielsa's side can get their first win of the tournament. Most people expecting them to finish second in the group. If they get the victory against Cape Verde, definitely on course for that. As Jamal takes possession again now on this right hand side. 2 players in front of him, so finds Olmo available to his left. Here's Pedri now. Wall of white shirts in front of him, chips it over towards Lamine Yamal. Patient build up from Spain. Yamal then goes down the right side, cuts back on his left. Has he been able to keep that in? Tricky feet from the Barcelona winger. Just too much though in the end. Saudi Arabia should be able to get this one clear. They're advancing down the left hand side now. Plenty of red shirts in front, but here is Salem Al-Dasari. Manages to find it through for Alabi, who's continued his run. He's gone a bit fortuitous there. He might find it through for his captain as well. It's just in front of him in the end though. Kabasi mops it up nicely and will find Pedro Porro, and almost fought for a moment. Saudi Arabia were going to get themselves through. Yeah,
Al-Harbi, decent perseverance going through the middle. I think he's looking through a couple of challenges. Just maybe you've not attacked for 33 minutes in this game. He just didn't quite find the right composure as he got away from his marker and rushed the ball through to Al-Dasari. He held it a little bit longer. Space would have opened up for Burkan on the right-hand side, and that would have been the ball to play, but it was at least a little bit of a venture forward for Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, here comes Spain now down the left-hand side. Saudi Arabia are still awaiting their first shot in this game. It's been that one-sided. Roderick cross towards Olmo, about 30 yards from goal. Here's Porro again, lays it off to Yamal to his right, back to Pedro Porro. Looking to link up again, and Yamal lets it run behind him nicely. Just trying to have a run again at El Arbi, but he has to settle for Kabasi instead. Roderick down towards Pedri again. Patient build up from Spain, not too much urgency, but Pedri gets on his bike and goes through. That's a fantastic sliding tackle by Al Jawair, and they've gone for the shot from well inside their own half there, looking to catch Unai Simon out. I'm not sure if that will count as the first shot for Saudi Arabia, but clearly Al Amri thought it was worth going for.
Yeah, the distance of the shot about 70 yards, wasn't it? Very ambitious, but he saw Unai Simon off his line, and he thought, why not? I quite like the idea.
Here's the Yafa ball again, popping up on the edge of the box. He's wanting someone to make that run into the area then. The keeper's messed that up. Oh, Yafa ball goes for it with the outside of the foot, and it comes off the bar in the end. So unfortunate for the Real Sociedad man. Very close to a hat-trick. Alaves, so I'm not sure what he's doing there. His defender doesn't help him. He almost lets it out for a corner. He tries to stop it. Ayafabal sees him way off his line, and that's a really good effort there from Mikel Ayafabal, desperately close to a hat-trick.
Oh, it's a brilliant attempt, isn't it? As you say, it's really poor defending from Saudi Arabia. The ball ricocheting out towards for a corner, so he comes out Alaves, and instead of putting his foot through it, he just passes it straight to Ayafabal. Angle so tight, but the way he lifts out the outside of his left boot was absolutely delicious, and he's so unfortunate not to find the back of the net.
Yeah, here comes Spain again though. Yamal's lining up from range, and it's on target. Alaves palms it away to his right. Heavy touch from Baena. Saudi Arabia haven't got this one totally cleared just yet though. Spain will come again. It's Rodri now, floating it over towards Lamine Yamal. In fact, it's Porro. What a great pick out that is. Yamal now on the edge of the box, wants to curl it again on his left foot. This time it's a bit more like the effort we saw earlier in the first half, wide of the post. But Lamine Yamal not too far away from a brace.
No, he's had 4 or 5 shots at least in this game, hasn't he? Just couldn't quite wrap his foot around the second one. First one was a decent hit, but one you'd always expect Alaves to save. It's a good height for him, a bit of a camera dive from the Saudi Arabia goalkeeper. But it just feels like when Spain want to go through the gears, they can cut through this Saudi Arabia defence at will. Yeah,
every time they look dangerous going forward. But might be a chance now for Saudi Arabia, but that's great goalkeeping from Unai Simon. We mentioned at the start of the game he's going to have to be alert when he's actually called into action. The flag's gone up for an offside anyway, so it wouldn't have counted if the striker had managed to get round him. But Simon well off his line and clears it out for, well, what would have been a throw, but it's an offside.
Yeah, he's done well. A lot of scrutiny, isn't there, on Unai Simon for getting the #1 jersey ahead of David Raya, who's de la Fuente's been consistent in selecting him, and he read the danger well there and knocked the ball out of play. Anyway, as you say, because the offside flag went up. I can confirm the effort from inside his own half there did count as Saudi Arabia's first shot on goal. Yeah,
he's registered an XG as well, 0.01, so about as far away as you could be with a go in the end up. And I see him not troubled. Spain again try and get moving. Pedri across towards Olmo, space again for Spain to move into, and Olmo has just got round the defender. What a recovery from the defender. Yamal will pick it up still. Inside the box, it was Layami again with the last-ditch challenge. Pedri now, it's a few men around him, but still picks out Olmo. Back towards Yamal, out towards Porus to the right of him. Back towards Yamal again. Rodri. Baena screaming for it on the far side, but it's Pedri who has it again, trying to find Lamine Yamal. Rodri takes over and wants to shift it out towards the left wing. He finds Kukure and eventually Baena. Abdelhamid out to meet him, but it's back towards Kukure. Spain just toying with the Saudi Arabian defence for the time being. Pedri now across towards Porro again, and Yamal gets it on that right side. He flicks it through for Porro, gets towards the byline, chips it towards the back post. They've all made the run away from it. Kukure is going to pick it up regardless. Inside now again towards Baena. Rodri. Crossfield ball looking for Yamal. Alaba's got there in front of him though, but only finds the feet of Porro with his header. There's Olmo's growing in influence on this first half. Pedri. All over the top again, and it's going to be cleared eventually by Altan Bakhti. Once again though, it's just going to be constant Spain pressure.
It is, it's one-way traffic, isn't it? There's no real respite for Saudi Arabia, and knocking the ball around. I mean, Pedri's getting the ball at will. Rodri's sitting at the base of the midfield as they come forward again. Iafabal might squeeze out to Cucurella, but it's just going to come again from a Saudi Arabian point of view. It just can't think of a way of how Saudi Arabia are going to change the tide of the match.
Yeah, they're showing no signs at all, are they really, of even having some sort of spell in this game so far. Spain have just completely smothered them in every single aspect of every stat. Rodri again now finds Cucurella, who's made that run. Heavy touch, but he'll still keep hold of it. Inside again towards Bayern, open it up on the right foot, wants to cross towards the back post, asking too much in the end of Dani Almo, and ultimately out for a goal kick.
Yeah, a little bit heavy-handed with the cross there. Saudi Arabia don't like those kind of balls into the box between them. Al-Tabati and Al-Harbi were able to deal with it at the far post. You can see all these Spanish attacking players, they're desperate to get on the ball. They can get on the score sheet, score at a World Cup. That's what players dream of, isn't it? And there's an opportunity there for some of these Spanish players to really go for it.
It certainly is. It's been backed well as well by the support in Atlanta this evening. Plenty of fans there by the looks of things. Not seen too many green shirts of Saudi fans, but maybe a few in attendance still. Got themselves a free kick as well in Spain's half for a change. I think it was Nassim Al-Dasari who's won that one. Again, they're not going to go forward with it. They're just going to offer possession at the back for the time being. It's Al-Tabati over towards Al-Arbi. That's a really poor pass, but should still make it through towards the central defender. It does under pressure from Yamal. Goalkeeper Alois with the long clearance. Great header on there by Al-Burakan, and they might have an overload over on that far side now. There's Abdelhamid, the right back who's come to support the attack. Ball is deflected and almost finds the run in the end there of Sani Al-Dasari. It's a great challenge by Kabas, who just about stops it from getting to him. I thought Saudi there might have had a rare shot at goal.
Yeah, first opportunity, so Abdelhamid's had to get forward down the right hand side, cross deflected, could have gone anywhere. It's a bit of an overload on that occasion. I suppose Spanish complacency could allow Saudi Arabia to squeeze up, but they have to try and take advantage of those rare opportunities when they do get into the Spanish defensive third.
For the time being though, it's going to be more Spanish pressure. We're into the final 3.5 minutes of this first half in Atlanta. Spain cruising against Saudi Arabia. 3 goals to the good. 2 goals from Mikel Iafabal after the opener from Lamine Yamal. Spain looking well comfortable for the time being and looking to get their first World Cup victory of the tournament after that draw against Cape Verde, where there were a few questions asked of them. Looking well full flow at the moment. This is great football. Iafabal again might get the chance. It's deflected back to him, and he hits it well. He hits it low and hard, but ultimately it's wide of the post. Mikel Iafabal could have easily had a first half hat-trick in this game. This time it's just wide of the mark.
Yeah, you feel like a hat-trick is going to come from him. The only thing that's going to stop him is if he gets replaced by Luis de la Fuente before he can get it. It was a bit of an air shot, the first one, and then the second ricochets kindly back towards him, but just a bit of a rush of blood and he drags it wide of the target. But more goals certainly out there for him.
Yeah, definitely looking in the mood in this one, and the Saudi Arabian defence are not doing too much to stop him at the moment. They gave him another chance there after he initially miskicked it. From the Saudis though, down the left wing, they turn back in the end and play it off of Lamine Yamal, so it's out for a throw-in. About halfway inside the Spanish half. So the drums being used in the Spanish end, trying to create the atmosphere. Saudi Arabia have gone with a good crossfield ball, and Al-Jawair can now pick it up. He finds Abdelhamid as well, just in front of him. There's only one man in the box at the moment though for Saudi Arabia. Can get it into there as well. Nassim Al-Dasari again, now back towards Abdelhamid. Wants to put the ball into the area, but turns back towards Al-Dasir. That's a great ball through forward, and what a challenge that is by Ina. He celebrates it as well with Marc Cucurella. He plays it off of the Saudi Arabia attacker last, so it is out for a goal kick, but maybe just signs of Saudi Arabia having a bit of a spell.
Yeah, second foray forward down that right hand side, but huge credit to Alex Baina, because you signed 3-0 up and cruising, but he still had that desire, the work rate to get back, track his run and put in a really important challenge.
Here comes Saudi Arabia again. This is definitely their best spell in the game so far. Dasiri, a nice give and go there between him and Al-Burakan, and they've got themselves a corner. It's their first one of the game, and definitely a little bit of an improvement there from Saudi Arabia in the last couple of moments or so. Finally getting into the final third. They've got this chance from the set piece now. We'll see what they can do with it. It's going to be Al-Jawair to swing it in. The in-swinger on this near side. A few players in the box so far, but 2 of them inside the 6-yard area. Referee going across to sort some things out and just give you a nice seam on the warning about not overstepping the mark. See lots of Al-Abi as well, right on the goalkeeper. Al-Jaway goes to take it, but he's ordered by the referee to just wait for a moment. Eventually he will take it short towards the edge of the box, and that's one of the worst set pieces I think we'll see in the World Cup. Spinning now, breaking away. It's Yamal up towards the halfway line, can't quite sort his feet out in time. Saudi Arabia should go back towards the goalkeeper and eventually go along with it, and that's a real waste for Saudi Arabia. They finally got a set piece chance, an opportunity to get it into the box, maybe create some chaos and benefit from it. Choose the completely wrong option.
Yeah, it's so poor from Al-Jawir, isn't it? As you say, 3 centre-backs to come forward, get it into the box. It's the first opportunity from a set piece you've had in the game, and all right, Al-Jawir chooses to go short, but the pass was never on. Doesn't find the intended target, and if Lamine Yamal's got a better touch going forward, which you don't say too often, then Spain have got a really dangerous counter-attack going on at the other end.
Porro back towards Kabasi. We're about to tick over 45 minutes, and Atlanta just waiting to see how much additional time is going to be added on as Olmo picks up the ball in space. It's going to be the 5 minutes that we've got extra at the end of this first half. Of course, that's accounted for the 3 goals we've seen and the hydration break as well. Rodri across towards Kukure, might be an overload on that far left hand side. Being now as well, checks back onto his right foot though, on the edge now. Rodri's coming on to the end of it. He blasts the shot with his left foot. He side foots it in the end, but too much underneath it. It's over for a goal kick.
Yeah, I just thought Rodri was going to let that run through his legs. Danny Olmo was in behind with a little bit more space to strike towards the ball, but attempting one there, leaning back slightly as Al-Dasari, who comes in and does just enough to put Rodri off.
Yeah, it does well with it in the end there. I think he can't think about letting it run through his legs, but he's probably not convinced that Nasser Al-Dasari is going to leave it as well. Gone long again with the goal kick of Saudi Arabia, but ultimately again it's back in Spanish hands. Only for a moment though, as Saudi Arabia win it in the middle. That's a lovely chip ball over the top there from Al-Amri. Ultimately both sides want a throw in after the resulting challenge. It's going to go Spain's way though, so a throw in for Spain on that far side. Taking quickly 2 balls on the pitch for a moment, but that's quickly sorted out as Pedri advances forward. Porro available in the overlap if Lamine Yamal can find him. Eventually does, but Saudi Arabia have got enough defenders in the way of this one just to keep Spain at bay for the time being. Pedri with a pass back is a little bit wayward, but Kabasi picks it up regardless. How is Rodri? Once again now for Emerick Laporte. Cucurella available towards his left, but Laporte is going to go alone. Inside towards Rodri. Pedri, a few touches again between them two. Rodri eventually chooses the long form option in the form of Porro. Now is Lamine Yamal again. Kabasi. Rodri now. Cucurella's made that run, but he's not seen Manchester City midfielder for the time being. Here's Pedri now again, moving inside. A few challenges on the Barcelona midfielder. He's not happy about, but Spain play on still. Baena up towards the edge of the box again. Can't quite find Cucurella. Finds Pedri instead. Cucurella violently works the space for himself. He's going to put it in towards the box. It's going to be deflected. Behind for a goal, not a goal kick, a corner I should say. Final touch coming off of Abdul Hamid in the end. Can Spain do better than what Saudi Arabia have just done from a corner? I imagine they're going to try and get this one straight into the box. A few players going up for this one from the back. The likes of Kabasi and Laporte all making the moves forward. They have actually gone short out towards Jamal. Outside of the foot, cross comes into the area. Lamami with the clearance done. This might be a breakout opportunity for Saudi Arabia. Al-Dasari's carrying the ball forward. There's a swarm of Spanish players, but he's done brilliantly to find Al-Abi. Still going forward now. Good perseverance from Saudi Arabia. Lamine Yamal does his defensive duty this time. He puts it away for a throw-in, but it's in an advanced position.
You know, that was the best individual bit of play we've seen from a Saudi Arabian player in this game so far. Al-Dasari, wonderful feet in the middle of the park to work his way past a couple, 2 or 3 Spanish players. Al-Abi had too much support and was snuffed out in the end, but better from Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, it goes straight into the box as well. Bit of confusion from the Spanish defence. Al-Dasari will try and hit when it's deflected up in the air. Rodri will now clear it. Saudi Arabia are going to be able to come again though. They've won the knockdown, and there's Layami on this left hand side. Inside towards Nassim Al-Dasari. Back towards the halfway line in the end though. Spain have set up nicely defensively for the time being. Again, a good moment from the Saudi Arabians. Again, not quite a shot for Unai Simon to save, but a little bit better.
Yeah, he fell to Salem Al-Dasari, who's the player that Saudi Arabia would have wanted to drop to on the edge of the area, but hurried there, slicing it well wide. But momentum rapidly come up a few minutes ago. 44 minutes was just all the way of Spain, but Saudi Arabia have had a little bit in the final minutes of the first half and stoppage time. This gives them a crumb of comfort going into the break.
Yeah, that might be eradicated though now, if Spain can get one in the final minute of additional time. They're coming forward with Pedri, and it's back towards Bayern. A good football from Spain. Ayafab's going to try and hit one. I think Liam Al-Dasari's just got in front of him there and taking a bit of contact. That might be a free kick inside the Saudi Arabian penalty area. See what Ayafab's trying. He's gone for the volley, however, it is the Saudi captain who's got there in front of him. Gets the touch as well. Ayafab not going to go into the book for that one, but just sort of kick through the back of him. It's a painful one.
Yeah, it is. It's a good brave defending from Salem Al-Dasari. Actually, he recognised the danger was there and just nipped in front of Ayafab on the Spanish forward blind side. I think he's entitled to have a go there. Ayafab, he's a free kick, but nothing more.
Yeah, it shouldn't be any more than that. That should be the last action of the half. Otherwise, he's going to take this kick long. Again, it's over the heads of the Spanish defence and all the way through to his opposite goalkeeper in the form of Unai Simon. And that will do it for the first half in the end. Spain utterly dominant so far in this first half in Atlanta. A goal from Lamine Yamal and 2 goals from Mikel Ayafab means that at half time it's Spain 3, Saudi Arabia 0.
Spain 3, Saudi Arabia 0 at the break. Spain have dominated that first half from start to finish. Mikel Ayafab has been the star of the show. First of all, he put in a perfect cross for Lamine Yamal on his return to the side to open the scoring on 10 minutes. Ayafab then capitalised on some hesitant Saudi Arabia defending from a corner on 21 to double Spain's lead. He got his second of the game, rounding off a lovely team move just 3 minutes later. It's Spain 3, Saudi Arabia 0. Spain 3, Saudi Arabia 0 at the break. Spain have dominated that first half pretty much from start to finish. Mikel Ayafab has been the star of the show. First of all, on 10 minutes, his pinpoint cross was turned home from close range by the returning Lamine Yamal. Ayafab himself then doubled Spain's lead on 21 after some hesitant Saudi Arabia defending from a corner. And just 3 minutes after that, Ayafab was on the score sheet again, rounding off a lovely team move. At the break, it's Spain 3, Saudi Arabia 0. Spain have dominated that first half pretty much from start to finish, and Mikel Ayafab has been the star of the show. First of all, his pinpoint cross found Lamine Yamal on 10 minutes, and the returning Barcelona player could not miss from close range. Ayafab himself then doubled Spain's lead on 21, capitalising on some hesitant Saudi Arabian defending from a corner, before 3 minutes later, Ayafab with his second of the game, rounding off a lovely team move. At the break, it's Spain 3, Saudi Arabia 0. Spain have dominated that first half pretty much from start to finish, and Mikel Ayafab has been the star of the show. First of all, his pinpoint cross found Lamine Yamal on 10 minutes, and the returning Barcelona player could not miss from close range. Ayafab himself then doubled Spain's lead on 21, capitalising on some hesitant Saudi Arabian defending from a corner, before 3 minutes later, Ayafab with his second of the game, rounding off a lovely team move. At the break, it's Spain 3, Saudi Arabia 0. Spain have dominated that first half pretty much from start to finish, and Mikel Ayafab has been the star of the show. First of all, his pinpoint cross found Lamine Yamal on 10 minutes, and the returning Barcelona player could not miss from close range. Ayafab himself then doubled Spain's lead on 21, capitalising on some hesitant Saudi Arabian defending from a corner, before 3 minutes later, Ayafab with his second of the game, rounding off a lovely team move. At the break, it's Spain 3, Saudi Arabia 0. Spain have dominated that first half pretty much from start to finish, and Mikel Ayafab has been the star of the show. First of all, his pinpoint cross found Lamine Yamal on 10 minutes, and the returning Barcelona player could not miss from close range. Ayafab himself then doubled Spain's lead on 21, capitalising on some hesitant Saudi Arabian defending from a corner, before 3 minutes later, Ayafab with his second of the game, rounding off a lovely team move. At At the break, it's Spain 3, Saudi Arabia nil. Spain have dominated that first half pretty much from start to finish. And Mikel Oyarzabal has been the star of the show. First of all, his pinpoint cross found Lamine Yamal on 10 minutes, and the returning Barcelona player could not miss from close range. Oyarzabal himself then doubled Spain's lead on 21, capitalising on some hesitant Saudi Arabian defending from the corner. 3 minutes later, Oyarzabal with his second of the game, rounding off a lovely team move. At the break, it's Spain 3, Saudi Arabia nil. Spain have dominated that first half pretty much from start to finish, and Mikel Oyarzabal has been the star of the show. First of all, his pinpoint cross found Lamine Yamal on 10 minutes, and the returning Barcelona player could not miss from close range. Oyarzabal himself then doubled Spain's lead on 21, capitalising on some hesitant Saudi Arabian defending from the corner. 3 minutes later, Oyarzabal with his second of the game, rounding off a lovely team move. At the break, it's Spain 3, Saudi Arabia nil. Spain have dominated that first half pretty much from start to finish, and Mikel Oyarzabal has been the star of the show. First of all, his pinpoint cross found Lamine Yamal on 10 minutes, and the returning Barcelona player could not miss from close range. Oyarzabal himself then doubled Spain's lead on 21, capitalising on some hesitant Saudi Arabian defending from the corner. 3 minutes later, Oyarzabal with his second of the game, rounding off a lovely team move. At the break, it's Spain 3, Saudi Arabia nil. Spain have dominated that first half pretty much from start to finish, and Mikel Oyarzabal has been the star of the show. First of all, his pinpoint cross found Lamine Yamal on 10 minutes, and the returning Barcelona player could not miss from close range. Oyarzabal himself then doubled Spain's lead on 21, capitalising on some hesitant Saudi Arabian defending from the corner. 3 minutes later, Oyarzabal with his second of the game, rounding off a lovely team move. At the break, it's Spain 3, Saudi Arabia nil. Spain have dominated that first half pretty much from start to finish, and Mikel Oyarzabal has been the star of the show. First of all, his pinpoint cross found Lamine Yamal on 10 minutes, and the returning Barcelona player could not miss from close range. Oyarzabal himself then doubled Spain's lead on 21, capitalising on some hesitant Saudi Arabian defending from the corner. 3 minutes later, Oyarzabal with his second of the game, rounding off a lovely team move. At the break, it's Spain 3, Saudi Arabia nil. Spain have dominated that first half pretty much from start to finish, and Mikel Oyarzabal has been the star of the show. First of all, his pinpoint cross found Lamine Yamal on 10 minutes, and the returning Barcelona player could not miss from close range. Oyarzabal himself then doubled Spain's lead on 21, capitalising on some hesitant Saudi Arabian defending from the corner. 3 minutes later, Oyarzabal with his second of the game, rounding off a lovely team move. At the break, it's Spain 3, Saudi Arabia nil. Spain have dominated that first half pretty much from start to finish, and Mikel Oyarzabal has been the star of the show. First of all, his pinpoint cross found Lamine Yamal on 10 minutes, and the returning Barcelona player could not miss from close range. Oyarzabal himself then doubled Spain's lead on 21, capitalising on some hesitant Saudi Arabian defending from the corner. 3 minutes later, Oyarzabal with his second of the game, rounding off a lovely team move. At the break, it's Spain 3, Saudi Arabia nil. Spain have dominated that first half pretty much from start to finish, and Mikel Oyarzabal has been the star of the show. First of all, his pinpoint cross found Lamine Yamal on 10 minutes, and the returning Barcelona player could not miss from close range. Oyarzabal himself then doubled Spain's lead on 21, capitalising on some hesitant Saudi Arabian defending from the corner. 3 minutes later, Oyarzabal with his second of the game, rounding off a lovely team move. At the break, it's Spain 3, Saudi Arabia nil. Spain have dominated that first half pretty much from start to finish, and Mikel Oyarzabal has been the star of the show. First of all, his pinpoint cross found Lamine Yamal on 10 minutes, and the returning Barcelona player could not miss from close range. Oyarzabal himself then doubled Spain's lead on 21, capitalising on some hesitant Saudi Arabian defending from the corner. 3 minutes later, Oyarzabal with his second of the game, rounding off a lovely team move. At the break, it's Spain 3, Saudi Arabia nil. Spain have dominated that first half pretty much from start to finish, and Mikel Oyarzabal has been the star of the show. First of all, his pinpoint cross found Lamine Yamal on 10 minutes, and the returning Barcelona player could not miss from close range. Oyarzabal himself then doubled Spain's lead on 21, capitalising on some hesitant Saudi Arabian defending from the corner. 3 minutes later, Oyarzabal with his second of the game, rounding off a lovely team move. At The break, it's Spain 3, Saudi Arabia nil. Spain have dominated that first half pretty much from start to finish, and Mikel Oyarzabal has been the star of the show. First of all, his pinpoint cross found Lamine Yamal on 10 minutes, and the returning Barcelona player could not miss from close range. Oyarzabal himself then doubled Spain's lead on 21, capitalising on some hesitant Saudi Arabian defending from a corner. For 3 minutes later, Oyarzabal with his second of the game, rounding off a lovely team move. At the break, it's Spain 3, Saudi Arabia nil. Spain have dominated that first half pretty much from start to finish, and Mikel Oyarzabal has been the star of the show. First of all, his pinpoint cross found Lamine Yamal on 10 minutes, and the returning Barcelona player could not miss from close range. Oyarzabal himself then doubled Spain's lead on 21, capitalising on some hesitant Saudi Arabian defending from the corner. For 3 minutes later, Oyarzabal with his second of the game, rounding off a lovely team move. At the break, it's Spain 3, Saudi Arabia nil. Spain have dominated that first half pretty much from start to finish, and Mikel Oyarzabal has been the star of the show. First of all, his pinpoint cross found Lamine Yamal on 10 minutes, and the returning Barcelona player could not miss from close range. Oyarzabal himself then doubled Spain's lead on 21, capitalising on some hesitant Saudi Arabian defending from the corner. For 3 minutes later, Oyarzabal with his second of the game, rounding off a lovely team move. At the break, it's Spain 3, Saudi Arabia nil. Spain have dominated that first half pretty much from start to finish, and Mikel Oyarzabal has been the star of the show. First of all, his pinpoint cross found Lamine Yamal on 10 minutes, and the returning Barcelona player could not miss from close range. Oyarzabal himself then doubled Spain's lead on 21, capitalising on some hesitant Saudi Arabian defending from a corner. For 3 minutes later, Oyarzabal with his second of the game, rounding off a lovely team move. At the break, it's Spain 3, Saudi Arabia nil. Spain have dominated that first half pretty much from start to finish, and Mikel Oyarzabal has been the star of the show. First of all, his pinpoint cross found Lamine Yamal on 10 minutes, and the returning Barcelona player could not miss from close range. Oyarzabal himself then doubled Spain's lead on 21, capitalising on some hesitant Saudi Arabian defending from a corner. For 3 minutes later, Oyarzabal with his second of the game, rounding off a lovely team move. At the break, it's Spain 3, Saudi Arabia nil. Spain have dominated that first half pretty much from start to finish, and Mikel Oyarzabal has been the star of the show. First of all, his pinpoint cross found Lamine Yamal on 10 minutes, and the returning Barcelona player could not miss from close range. Oyarzabal himself then doubled Spain's lead on 21, capitalising on some hesitant Saudi Arabian defending from a corner. For 3 minutes later, Oyarzabal with his second of the game, rounding off a lovely team move. At the break, it's Spain 3, Saudi Arabia nil. Spain have dominated that first half pretty much from start to finish, and Mikel Oyarzabal has been the star of the show. First of all, his pinpoint cross found Lamine Yamal on 10 minutes, and the returning Barcelona player could not miss from close range. Oyarzabal himself then doubled Spain's lead on 21, capitalising on some hesitant Saudi Arabian defending from the corner. For 3 minutes later, Oyarzabal with his second of the game, rounding off a lovely team move. At the break, it's Spain 3, Saudi Arabia nil. Spain have dominated that first half pretty much from start to finish, and Mikel Oyarzabal has been the star of the show. First of all, his pinpoint cross found Lamine Yamal on 10 minutes, and the returning Barcelona player could not miss from close range. Oyarzabal himself then doubled Spain's lead on 21, capitalising on some hesitant Saudi Arabian defending from the corner. For 3 minutes later, Oyarzabal with his second of the game, rounding off a lovely team move. At the break, it's Spain 3, Saudi Arabia nil. Spain have dominated that first half pretty much from start to finish, and Mikel Oyarzabal has been the star of the show. First of all, his pinpoint cross found Lamine Yamal on 10 minutes, and the returning Barcelona player could not miss from close range. Oyarzabal himself then doubled Spain's lead on 21, capitalising on some hesitant Saudi Arabian defending from a corner. For 3 minutes later, Oyarzabal with his second of the game, rounding off a lovely team move. At the break, it's Spain 3, Saudi Arabia nil. Spain have dominated that first half pretty much from start to finish, and Mikel Oyarzabal has been the star of the show. First of all, his pinpoint cross found Lamine Yamal on 10 minutes, and the returning Barcelona player could not miss from close range. Oyarzabal himself then doubled Spain's lead on 21, capitalising on some hesitant Saudi Arabian defending from a corner. For 3 minutes later, Oyarzabal with his second of the game, rounding off a lovely team move. At the break, it's Spain 3, Saudi Arabia nil. Spain have dominated that first half pretty much from start to finish, and Mikel Oyarzabal has been the star of the show. First of all, his pinpoint cross found Lamine Yamal on 10 minutes, and the returning Barcelona player could not miss from close range. Oyarzabal himself then doubled Spain's lead on 21, capitalising on some hesitant Saudi Arabian defending from a corner. For 3 minutes later, Oyarzabal with his second of the game, rounding off a lovely team move. At the break, it's Spain 3, Saudi Arabia 0. Spain have dominated that first half pretty much from start to finish, and Mikel Oyarzabal has been the star of the show. First of all, his pinpoint cross found Lamine Yamal on 10 minutes, and the returning Barcelona player could not miss from close range. Oyarzabal himself then doubled Spain's lead on 21, capitalising on some hesitant Saudi Arabian defending from a corner. For 3 minutes later, Oyarzabal with his second of the game, rounding off a lovely team move. At the break, it's Spain 3, Saudi Arabia 0. Spain have dominated that first half pretty much from start to finish, and Mikel Oyarzabal has been the star of the show. First of all, his pinpoint cross found Lamine Yamal on 10 minutes, and the returning Barcelona player could not miss from close range. Oyarzabal himself then doubled Spain's lead on 21, capitalising on some hesitant Saudi Arabian defending from a corner. For 3 minutes later, Oyarzabal with his second of the game, rounding off a lovely team move. At the break, it's Spain 3, Saudi Arabia 0. Spain have dominated that first half pretty much from start to finish, and Mikel Oyarzabal has been the star of the show. First of all, his pinpoint cross found Lamine Yamal on 10 minutes, and the returning Barcelona player could not miss from close range. Oyarzabal himself then doubled Spain's lead on 21, capitalising on some hesitant Saudi Arabian defending from a corner. For 3 minutes later, Oyarzabal with his second of the game, rounding off a lovely team move. At the break, it's Spain 3, Saudi Arabia 0. Spain have dominated that first half pretty much from start to finish, and Mikel Oyarzabal has been the star of the show. First of all, his pinpoint cross found Lamine Yamal on 10 minutes, and the returning Barcelona player could not miss from close range. Oyarzabal himself then doubled Spain's lead on 21, capitalising on some hesitant Saudi Arabian defending from a corner. For 3 minutes later, Oyarzabal with his second of the game, rounding off a lovely team move. At the break, it's Spain 3, Saudi Arabia 0. Spain have dominated that first half pretty much from start to finish, and Mikel Oyarzabal has been the star of the show. First of all, his pinpoint cross found Lamine Yamal on 10 minutes, and the returning Barcelona player could not miss from close range. Oyarzabal himself then doubled Spain's lead on 21, capitalising on some hesitant Saudi Arabian defending from a corner. For 3 minutes later, Oyarzabal with his second of the game, rounding off a lovely team move. At the break, it's Spain 3, Saudi Arabia 0. Spain have dominated that first half pretty much from start to finish, and Mikel Oyarzabal has been the star of the show. First of all, his pinpoint cross found Lamine Yamal on 10 minutes, and the returning Barcelona player could not miss from close range. Oyarzabal himself then doubled Spain's lead on 21, capitalising on some hesitant Saudi Arabian defending from a corner. For 3 minutes later, Oyarzabal with his second of the game, rounding off a lovely team move. Well, it's a very warm welcome back to our independent off-tube studio commentary of this World Cup 2026 Group H match between Spain and Saudi Arabia. If you missed the first half, it was an opening 45 minutes, pretty much dominated from start to finish by Spain. They lead by 3 goals to 0. Lamine Yamal scoring the opener from a Mikel Oyarzabal cross. Oyarzabal himself then adding 2 further goals. Both those players, though, have been replaced at the half-time break by Luis de la Fuente. In Yamal's case in particular, he'll be getting wrapped up in cotton wool, just back as he is from that hamstring injury. They'll be rested for the final group game, you'd imagine, against Uruguay. On in their place come Ferran Torres, who started the first game, and Jeremy Pino as well, the Crystal Palace attacking midfielder. They're on for the second half. 2 changes as well for Saudi Arabia, who had a real first half to forget. Mohamed Kano has come on in the midfield, and forward player Abdullah Al-Hamdan is also on. Musab Al-Jouer and Abdullah Al-Kaibari, the 2 players to be replaced. Myself, Tom McGarry and Josh Bacon talking you through the remainder of this game, and immediately Saudi Arabia is looking to come forward down the left-hand side. Al-Harbi on the overlap, but the referee's assistant has raised his flag for offside. So changes from both teams. Josh, in Spain's case, resting players. Saudi Arabia just trying trying to get some fresh legs on to find some new impetus.
Yeah, perhaps not surprised to be seeing Lamine Yamal withdrawn. We thought he's probably still not at full fitness, is he? So there's no point risking him for the rest of this match. 3-0 up. We imagine Spain have already got the job done here and are heading to a comfortable 3 points. Yeah, football might be a little bit gutted that he's not been given a chance to get himself a World Cup hat-trick, but still be very happy with his performance. That should give him some confidence going into the rest of the tournament. It's just going to be about control now and being professional, isn't it, for Spain? I think that first 45 minutes might be the most complete we've seen from any team so far at the tournament. Again, it's hard to judge that when it's against a team like Saudi Arabia, who are not fancied to go far in the tournament, but it still held Uruguay to a 1-1 draw and nearly took 3 points off them. So I thought it was really impressive from Spain, a fantastic reaction to what we saw in the Cape Verde game, much like the European champions we expect. Saudi Arabia, they didn't really lay a glove on them apart from maybe a few little moments towards the end of the first half, so hopefully we'll see a bit more from them attacking wise in the second half. We've seen them had that overlap on the left side, nothing really came of it in the end, but they've got some defending to do now. They've conceded a corner.
Yeah, so Abdul Hamid has turned it behind. Sorry, player did leave a bit of a glove on Alex Baena there. First, Alburican bringing his man down after he played an advantage though, and it's led to this Spain corner. The second half. Looking to make a further statement in this second period and sort of rack up a few more goals and really enjoy a big win. Will be delayed in being taken as the referee Rafael Claus of Brazil will just have the usual word with players from both teams jostling inside the 6-yard box. Eric Laporte, who was being spoken to there by Spain. Alex Baena will now take this corner in swinging delivery, whipped in with pace towards the front post, comes to the far, Cucurella hits it, it's saved by the goalkeeper and then inadvertently I think goes in off the defender who is just in front of Mohamed Al-Owais. On first viewing it looks like it's probably going to be an own goal, but Spain already at the start of this second half have got a goal and they lead 4-0. Yeah,
they've come out well, haven't they? They've already meant business with that first attack. Again, they've looked fairly decent from set pieces. It's not something we always associate with this Spanish side being effective from set pieces. We think about how good they are in possession and sort of creating moves from up and play, but it's a good ball towards the near post and yeah, it's just sort of falls for Cucurella. He hits it hard, he hits it low. It's actually a good initial save from the goalkeeper. He gets down well, but it's just unfortunate in the end. It's Alton Bakhti, isn't it? Who can't really get out of the way, can't do anything about it, doesn't know anything about it. It just bounces off him and straight into the net. Spain have scored some pretty good goals in this game. That's not going to go down as one of them. It's a bit of a comical one and gives them a 4-goal advantage.
Yeah, it's not really the fault of the goalkeeper who makes a good save or the defender. Someone should be closer to Mark Cucurella and marking. Maybe that is supposed to be Hassan Alton Bakhti, who dropped back towards the line, but he's unfortunate to see the ball go in off him and into the back of the net after Mohamed Al-Owais had made that save. Definitely an own goal. A World Cup goal for Mark Cucurella to put his name to, but it's sort of a stamp to the dominance that Spain have had in this game, leading as they do now Saudi Arabia by 4-0. Saudis are looking to come forward down the left-hand side, suspicion of offside I think, as the cross comes in and he's easily plucked out the air by Simon, who was to bowl the ball out, and Spain almost played themselves into a little bit of trouble. Tidies up and ball down to Rodri. I'll run you through the 11s as they stand after the substitutions at half-time. Simon is in goal for Spain. Really had much to do in terms of making saves in the match so far. Porro, Kabasi, Laporte and Cucurella are still the back four. Pedri and Rodri in front of them, with Pinho, Olmo and Baena supporting Torres up front. Al-Owais is in goal for Saudi Arabia. Abdul Hamid, Alton Bakhti, Layami, Al-Amri and Al-Harbi are the back five for the Saudis, and it's pretty much a flat back five. Nasser, Al-Dasari, Kano, Al-Hamdan, Al-Dasari, Salem Al-Dasari that is, in the midfield with Al-Burakan. Al-Burakan looks like he's come to the right hand side, and it might well be Al-Hamdan, the substitute, leading the line up front. Use the term leading the line pretty loosely because pretty much every Saudi Arabia player is stationed inside his own half for at least 90% of this game. Yeah,
it's just about them sort of trying to be as resolute and defensively organised as possible. Even the striker is having to be asked to do a lot defensively and sort of sit in front of the ball alongside his other teammates, and It's tough, isn't it? Because Al Burakan has actually won some decent headers going forward at times in that first half. However, there's not really been anyone running off of him and causing problems for Spain. He's had no chances, nothing really to go at. Just seen another replay of the goal, and yeah, you are right. It's not the fault of either of them. It's just a real unfortunate moment.
Yeah, it's disappointment for Saudi Arabia. I think it flicked off the head. It might have been Al Burakan actually in the front post who inadvertently flicked it on, and Cucurella in all that space was able to provide good contact with the ball, and maybe he'll argue unfortunately himself not to score it directly, but he's made a decent save initially. Keep it out after it rebounded off his teammates and into the back of the net. A fast start to the second half from Spain, and even faster than they had in the first when they were in front inside 10 minutes. As Kabasi has had a lovely ball around the corner, and now a chance in behind, strike towards goal is a decent one, and it follow up coming in as well from Ferran Torres. I think it was Pedro Porro who found himself in behind now, scrambling, trying to look who's number 12 there, playing in the centre forward role, but it was Porro who got forward from the back. Yeah,
what a great run forward it was as well. You know, we have seen him do that times, haven't we, for Tottenham Hotspur a lot this season. He has, you know, come up with some goals in important moments for them. It's not a bad effort there. The angle is slightly against him. He just goes for pure power, doesn't he, with that one, and tries to beat the keeper that way. Alaves makes a good save, and then Ferran Torres arrives on the follow-up, tries to head the ball into the net. Doesn't quite work out for him. He can't generate the power to beat Alaves, who has recovered and got back up to his feet by that point. So a double effort for Spain, but Saudi Arabia just about to hold firm that time.
Pretty much way traffic again at the start of this second half. Saudi Arabia are looking to come forward, but Al Burakan not on the same wavelength there as Abdul Hamid, and give the ball away really poorly there. Saudi Arabia. Dani Olmo in the middle of the park for Spain. Out towards the right-hand side with Yeremy Pino. The Conference League with Crystal Palace in his first season with the Premier League club. Now to the left for Spain, Cucurella. Spain, who's a good game on this left-hand side, lifts an early ball into the box. Fine Ferran Torres, cut out by Leami. Secondary clearance there for Al Amri, and Spain will come forward again, although with the ball out to the right-hand side, couldn't find the intended target, and then Porro brings down his man. So Saudi Arabia, a little bit of respite in terms of a free kick inside their own half. Yeah,
I think they've just got to take whatever they can get, can't they, really, at this point. It's they're not going to be getting too much, but any sort of respite like that will be definitely appreciated. We're just seeing a replay again of that Pedro Porro, Ferran Torres double chance, and it's really criminal defending. They just allow Porro to make the running behind. There's so much space between the defenders for him to drive into. And Torres, again, there, tough header for him, but Alaves with a save.
Yeah, couldn't generate enough power, could he, Ferran Torres, to trouble Alaves, who got back to his feet pretty quickly. To set up that move as well from Pau Kubasi. Spain with Pedri. Ball in field to Zarbandon, gives it to Kubasi. To Pino on the right-hand side, back with Pau Kubasi. The ball around to stretch this Saudi back line as the ball white comes to Cucurella in behind the Saudi defence. Alaves comes rushing out. The ball moves across the penalty area and out to the right-hand side. Porro to Rodri. Pedri now 25 yards from goal. Might fancy a hit, drops a shoulder, resists the temptation. Rodri, Porro, crossing position on the right, deep towards the far post. Cucurella is challenging over his head. Will come to Alex Baena. Spain can keep the pressure on. Baena going towards the byline. Abdul Hamid with a decent challenge. Come back the way of the men in red once again. Olmo, Pedri, Rodri. Arabia pressing hard, but Spain moving it around. It's on the left-hand side of Aymeric Laporte. Back in towards Rodri now. Cucurella, in position. Closes him down. Cucurella exchanges passes there with Baena. Rodri. Reluctance from Spain to swing it into the box. Well, it was a bit of an aerial threat. Ferran Torres doesn't necessarily have that same height in there, leading the line in this second half as Porro towards Pedri. Porro's made a run. Pedri trying to lift it over the top. Thumbs up from Porro. Run beyond him and out of play for a goal kick. Yeah, he appreciates the idea though, doesn't he? Pedro Porro's getting a lot of joy already in this second half. He had a fair bit in the first half, but he's just been able to attack even more in this second part. Just seeing the replay again there, Cucurella almost bounces quite fortunately for him again, but
keeper and defender both doing the jobs and getting out to him, making it hard as possible. Saudi Arabia are going to avoid any sort of record defeat. They're going to need those moments to go in their favour.
Yeah, I mentioned the 8-0 they suffered at the hands of Germany in the 2002 World Cup in Korea and Japan. The biggest defeat so far at this World Cup was again inflicted by Germany. That's 7-1 against Curacao. Spain leading by 4 goals to 0. With 5-1s. Sweden had a 5-1 win and a 5-1 defeat, didn't they, in their opening 2 games? Tunisia have been beaten 5-1 and 4-0. Saudi Arabia losing by 4 goals to 0, but they do have possession. Nasser Al-Dosari down the left-hand side. Ricochets off Al-Hamdan. Half-time substitutes, but stick again for Saudi Arabia, who are a little bit dejected out there, understandably so. Spain will look to come forward once more. Baena down the left-hand side. Statistics, the way you look at them, are completely in favour of Spain. Over 70% possession, 20 shots on goal. Now Luis de la Fuente's side. Half Saudi Arabia have had 2. One was from 70 yards in the first half, and the other one was a sliced effort there. I don't think even made it behind for a goal kick. So slim pickings from that point of view for Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, just totally outclassed, haven't they been? In the end, it's not too often that you do see such one-sided performances, even in the World Cup with the batterings. We've seen that those other sides, it felt like they have had decent spells in the game, especially in that Curacao match. There was a moment in the time where we thought they might actually pose Germany a few problems. They got that equaliser, and then the hydration break sort of killed their momentum. There hasn't been any sort of moments of like that for Saudi Arabia. They've just been beaten in every single department by this Spanish side. Exactly what you probably expect Spain to do to a few more teams with the quality and how well coached they are. So we'll just have to see now if they carry through with that through the rest of the tournament.
31 touches in Saudi Arabia's penalty area as well. Spain, Saudis on the other end have had 1. Underlining the difference in quality between these two sides in this game. For Saudi Arabia, and Spain internationals in Fernando Hierro and Michel Salgado in the crowd. Hierro, who Spain into the 2018 World Cup as well as manager, as replacement for Lopetegui, who was sacked on the eve of that tournament after discussing and completing in the end a move to Real Madrid. RC for Spain, halfway line to Pedri. Rodri around the corner, Dani Olmo trying to squeeze it through towards Ferran Torres. Off Saudi Arabia, Al-Tambakti will lift the ball far forward. Al-Burakan fighting with Cucurella for the ball, and then there's a stray arm maybe there from Mohamed Kano as he jumped from the ball. He's penalised, free kick to Spain on the halfway line as Kano pleads his innocence. It's Rodri who's been left in a heap.
Yeah, did look up there and you can see what it is. He tries to sort of beat Rodri in the air, and as he goes to do so, Rodri's still sort of rooted to the spot and he catches him with his elbow. He's produced a yellow card as well as the referees. The second player in the match to be booked after the captain, Salim Al-Dosari. Not happy about the decision, but I guess when you go up for challenges like that, you use your elbows, you're always running the risk of a booking. Yeah,
there wasn't any real force, was there, in the elbow? He's just kind of hanging there, but the point of it really caught Rodri on the nose, and he's receiving some treatment there for the Manchester City player. Substitutions are being prepared for both teams as well. First of all, Saudi Arabia are going to bring on Al-Hajj, number 18, midfield man. Come on, Al-Amri's going to be replaced. Al-Hajj is on for him, and confirmation on the second change as well. Williams was being prepared by Spain. They might just hang fire on that, and until they see how Rodri is. Mohamed Abu Al-Shamat is the other player who has come on for Saudi Arabia, a defender who started the first game. He's on, as is Al-Hajj. Nico Williams and Mikel Merino are going to come on for Spain. Dani Olmo is one of the players who's going to be replaced. How much attacking dominant Spain have had in this game. He's been a little bit quiet. Alex Baena, who was lively, he's going to go off. And if you're one of those Saudi Arabia defenders, you're not going to be too happy that Nico Williams is one of the players going to come on, given the pace and trickery that he possesses.
Yeah, that's a pretty terrifying thought, isn't it? The fact you've already had such a tough game already, trying to defend the likes of Lamine Yamal as well, I think has been really good. And you've got Nico Williams coming on and running at you. That's a real sort of scary thought for the Saudi Arabian defenders. Nico Williams, again, like Lamine Yamal, is a crucial player for the Spanish team. The wingers are so important for Spain. We see it. We're going to mention that Cape Verde game again. When they didn't have Williams and Yamal, there's such a difference in their attacking play. When they've even just got one of them or both of them on the pitch at once, they are such a frightening prospect to come up against. And yeah, they'll be hoping both of them are fully fit going forward.
Spain looking to come forward. Now Ferran Torres into the penalty area, can't quite get a strike away at goal. Leami with his first good challenge stopped Ferran Torres, and he took a whack as well. Leami in the process. It'll be a free kick to Saudi Arabia, just to confirm it was Al Amri and Al Burakan who came off for Saudi Arabia with that double change. Al Haji and Al Shamat, the players to replace them. But you're right, with Spain, all their attacking players are really good technical players. They want to get on the ball, move it around, but Williams and Yamal are the ones that can take on a man and just inject that element of pace that certainly against Cape Verde they didn't have at times. Yeah,
they're the more exciting players, aren't they? The more direct ones. You are right, you know, Baena, Olmo, all fantastic technical players. Torres as well is brilliant on the ball, but when you've got Williams and Yamal, they're just able to give you something different. They give you that different dimension going forward, and that's what you need in tournament football as well. You need players who can just sort of make things happen out of nowhere, that can just run past the defender and ultimately get in behind. So they are absolutely crucial. If Spain are going to go on and win this tournament, they need both of them fully fit and firing.
Absolutely, they'll be hoping they both get up to full speed as this tournament progresses. With Pedri in the middle of the park, the key player for Spain, and he's driving forward over the halfway line, being tracked by the newly introduced Al Shamat, and then a challenge from Nasser Al Dasari does rob Pedri of possession, and move out to his namesake Salem Al Dasari on the left hand side. Arabia do have bodies forward in this attack as they turn their first effort on target of the game, although they're ball back towards the halfway line now with Leami to Abdul Hamid, who's the only member of this Saudi Arabia squad that play their football outside of Saudi Arabia. He's just had a really decent season with Lens in Ligue 1 in France, helping them to the France and a second place finish behind Paris Saint-Germain in the league. He was on loan from Roma. He's made that deal permanent since the end of the season. But haven't seen much from him going forward in this game because, like the majority of the Saudi Arabia players, have been pinned deep back inside his own half by this relentless Spain team, who are in possession once again. Unai Simon clumps the ball forward over the head of Torres, but might run through towards Williams, who'd show an interest coming in from the left, but Alois was well positioned to clear for Saudi Arabia. Corella now, Spain down the left hand side, feeds a decent ball forward. First touch for Mikel Merino. Lovely ball around the corner. Ferran Torres in behind, outside of the right boot. Again, Alois was quick off his line to close the angle, but not a great finish from Ferran Torres.
No, probably should be doing better with that one there. Ferran Torres, it's like he's sort of maybe caught in two minds. He times the run brilliantly. He's onside as well, as you can see from the side on view. There's a good run from him, but he just maybe thinks about running round the keeper at first and then actually tries to poke it through into the far corner. It's not the greatest finish from Ferran Torres. It could have easily been 5 that for Spain. He's a player who came in for a lot of criticism, but didn't he, after the Cape Verde game. A finish like that's probably not going to help his case.
Yeah, it's quite Luis Fuente brought him on. Yaffabal had his redemption in the first half, and maybe hoping that Ferran Torres could have something similar in the second. So far, though, he's been able to take the opportunities that have come his way. There's Shamat there for Saudi Arabia. Forward, goes back now in towards the army, and Cano out to Al Shamat on the right hand side, deep cross towards the far post. There was only one player in there in white, it was Salem Al Dasari, and it went well over the top of his head. Covered by Pedro Porro now for Spain down the right hand side. 25 minutes plus stoppage time left to play in this game. H match between Spain and Saudi Arabia. Spain comfortably leading by 4-0. Very important, the heart of their defence. If Spain want to go and push for the jugular and try and get more goals, we mentioned Germany got against Curacao earlier on in this competition. to retain possession inside their own half. And the ball on now to Kabasi towards the halfway line by Marino. Gives it across to Cucurella, formerly of Chelsea. Williams will pick it up on the left. He looks to take on Abdul Hamid. Chance potentially for him to stretch his legs. Infield, takes a little bit of a kick from Abdul Hamid, offloads it to Rodri, who pirouettes on the ball, squeezes it onto the right hand side where Pino will pick it up, back into Rodri. Again, it's probing, patient Spanish build-up play. Laporte to the left hand side now, some position maybe for Pedri, instead to Nico Williams, who will drop his shoulder, will play a low ball into the box, and a little bit of scramble defending from Layami to turn it behind for a corner. Yeah,
not taking any chances, was he there, Layami? But again, there's the impact of Nico Williams again, just sort of emphasising the point we were making about how him and Yamal probably some of the only players in this Spain team who can just sort of take a fullback on like that and have that yard of pace to get over them, have that yard of extra just to get a ball in, a bit more space from Nico Williams, and he's got this resulting corner to take.
He's going to take it himself. I think club player goes short to Yeremy Pino. Back towards Pedri. Lift the ball into the box. He will. It's towards the far post. Rodri, the target, hooks his right foot around the ball on the volley to get it back across goal, and it was in an offside position. A little bit of a waste that from Spain. They moved it short, and Pedri, when he looked to play that ball into the box, there was at least a couple of them offside.
Yeah, there was a few of them just sort of caught behind the lines there and not making the run backwards. It's convenient in the end, though. It does lead towards the hydration break a little bit earlier than we saw in the first half. But again, maybe a chance for Saudi Arabia just to reset once more. I'm not sure what else they can change at this point to try and get some joy against this Spanish side. They've been totally second best.
Yeah, I think if you offered Saudi Arabia 4-0 and a full-time whistle right now, they would bite your hand off at it, because they have been second best from start to finish in this game. It's going to be a long 25 minutes or so for the Saudi players. Spain, as we say, will be looking to score as many goals as they can to really lay down a statement at this World Cup. And to take us through now to the full-time whistle, I'll hand you over to Josh with the score of Spain 4, Saudi Arabia 0.
Yeah, thank you very much, Tom. It'll be interesting to see if there is any more change in this one. Of course, both sides have already made an abundance of substitutes in this one. Spain have made 4, as have Saudi Arabia as well. So both of them have still got 1 each left to go if they do choose to go for it. Spain maybe just think about resting some of the other players. Of course, Pedri plays a lot of football, and there's a few players in there who have long seasons, so maybe it's not worth risking them when the job is pretty much already done. Still there with the team, listening to the instructions from De La Fuente. Not too much he can say at this point, really, other than just remain professional, keep going, and if they score a few more goals, it's not the end of the world if they don't. Of course, a 4-0 victory, I'm sure if you said Saudi Arabia would have taken, would take at this point, I'm sure Spain would have taken 4-0 before the start of this game. Chance for us, well, just to see the replays of that fourth goal. As fortunate as it comes about, I think it is poor defending as well from Saudi Arabia. The fact they've all sort of just loaded the front post, no one's even bothered to go with Cucurella towards the back edge of the box, and well, it is unfortunate that it's an own goal in the end. You sort of make your own luck.
You do it. They'll get sucked in towards the ball at the near post, and really thinking about what's behind it. Was a really flat trajectory of the ball. They went in with pace and ahead of a player like he did. I think about Huracan, to say the Saudi Arabia forward who got the touch and to flicked off his head. Spain had overloaded the far post and were able to profit.
Yeah, I was just mentioning about actually whether Pedri would be able to play the rest of his game. He isn't. He's going to be taken off in place of Fabian Ruiz. Again, not a bad player to come on, is it? I mean, it shows the squad depth that Spain have got. They can bring on the likes of Fabian Ruiz, who was absolutely fantastic at Euro 2024, to come on for Pedri.
Yeah, I love what he started against Cape Verde, and yeah, he's played fabulous for Paris Saint-Germain over the last few seasons. They've got so much strength in the midfield area, particularly those creative technicians that we spoke about. They can kind of interchange at will, and I'm sure Luis de la Fuente will, over the course of the tournament, rotate his side, try and keep things as fresh as he possibly can.
Yeah, he certainly will. One game as well after this that could be quite interesting. Belgium taking on Iran. Belgium didn't look too convincing against Egypt, of course. Held to a 1-1 draw in that game, so that's an important match for them. The other game, as we mentioned earlier, in Group H, gets underway at 11 o'clock UK time this evening. It's Uruguay against Cape Verde. Still some big fixtures left to come in the World Cup. It's England in action on Tuesday against Ghana in their second match. Ball is finally back in play now for the time being. Throwing on this near side. I think it may have come off Cucurella last. So Saudi have a rare chance again to try and attack the Spanish penalty area. That's like a foul throw from Abdulhamid, but somehow it's been given still by the referee, and that's some nice footwork there from Nassim Al-Dasari. He's found his teammate in the form of Al-Tambakti. Now over towards the left where Alabi can get going. Nice touch there from Salim Al-Dasari, and he's won it off of his man, but a brilliant recovery there from Pino, I believe it was, and Spain can get on the attack again. Well, they can't do. That's a heavy touch from Ferran Torres, who's really not doing enough at the moment to justify his place in the Spanish squad. Spanish starting 11 at least. 72 minutes gone. Spain fought Saudi Arabia 0, and Saudi Arabia looking to put Spain under some pressure. Still in the Spanish half for the time being, but that's a nice flick round the corner. Now Alabi's onto the end of it, up towards the edge of the area. Now he tries to play through Rodri in the end, who doesn't even really have to move. He just takes the ball off him and finds one of Marino up ahead of him. Challenge goes in. That will be a Spanish throw-in, and it seems like every time we think Saudi Arabia are finally about to really pose a threat down the attacking end, they just seem to ruin it for themselves.
Yeah, I mean, they've probably got into slightly more advanced positions more often in this second half, primarily down that left-hand side, but it doesn't end in anything. Once they get 20-30 yards of the Spanish goal, it seems to break down. There's very rarely an option for the player in a wide area in the box. It's difficult. You're defending so much for so long as they have in this game, to then spring forward is really hard, particularly when you're worried about losing the ball and potentially having gaps at the back that we know Spain can and will exploit.
Yeah, still just the 2 shots for the Saudi Arabian team in this game. Still none on target, still no saves for Unai Simon to have made. And the ball goes forward again. Porro with a cross from deep looking for Torres. Headed up in the air though by Layame. Williams is going to keep it alive and find Ruiz in front of him. Cucurella gets there as well ahead of his man. Now Ruiz can sort of reset this one for Spain. He'll find Williams with a pass out towards the left wing. Step overs, but it's a good challenge in the end actually from Al Shamat. He thinks it should be the throw-in for Saudi Arabia. He's not going to get it though, so Spain have got themselves a throw-in. Again, it's going to go back towards Laporte. Rodri, he's had so many touches of the ball as well in this game. Rodri has completely dictated it for Spain. Kabasi again moved out towards the right this time. Here comes Spain with Pino. Looking dangerous, ball goes into the box as well. It's a low one looking for Torres, but Layame steps in front of it. Decent clearance, but again going to be picked up by Spain and Marino. Across towards Ruiz, and he's found Pino moving on that right wing. Pino just slows it down for the time being, pokes it through, looking for the run of Fabian Ruiz. It's an almighty clearance at the back there from Layame. So we'll go out for a throw, and Jeremy Pino's a player who's been fairly quiet since coming on, but it's a little tantrum there.
Yeah, trying to have an involvement on that right-hand side. Probably a player that, when it comes down to the nitty-gritty, the final stages, of Spain get that fight. He's not going to be as involved to try and take his opportunity whilst he's there coming on in this game. It hasn't quite happened for him. And Ferran Torres, you mentioned earlier, just hasn't quite clicked for them in this second.
No, hasn't quite. Still had a great season though as Jeremy Pino. Of course, won the Conference League with Crystal Palace. A bit of silverware for him. He'll be hoping to add to that this summer with the World Cup. It's now Ruiz. We're into the final 15 minutes in Atlanta. It's still Spain 4, Saudi Arabia 0. Spain looking for that 5th in the next few moments. Not too urgent for the time being. And Saudi Arabia, I'm sure, are just happy to play the rest of this one out at 4-0. Damage limitation for them. They've still got a chance of getting through to the knockouts, of course, in that final game against Cape Verde. If they can get themselves a win, that will put them on 4 points and maybe set themselves up nicely to go through as 3rd place, or maybe even 2nd, depending on what happens with Uruguay. Here's Marino now, picking it forward, and there's the run forward from Porro. Can he get there? He can't. It's a good sliding tackle from Al-Harbi, and it is out for a throw, and it's just by the corner. Like I mentioned in the first half, not too many Saudi Arabian supporters in the stadium, but there's a few pockets of them still cheering their team on despite the scoreline. Of course, won't have expected too much from this result, so just enjoying it as much as they can. Porro throws it towards Marino now. Good footwork from the midfielder. It's come off him last one out for a throw in there. He can't believe the decision from the linesman. The Saudi Arabians are going to get themselves a throw in. Iafabal sat there on the bench. He'll be content with his performance. The fact he's managed to get himself a brace after a poor performance against Cape Verde, where he was hardly involved at all. We're probably going to mention quite a few times about the fact that he didn't have a touch inside the opening 30 minutes. It's not happened since Opta started taking stats in the World Cup. A record of it. Laporte. Nice ball out towards Cucurella, in space for the now former Chelsea man to drive into. Williams, is he taking a push in the back there from his man? He has, but it's deemed legal by the referee, and Saudi Arabia might have an overload here if they can play this one right. Al-Desir, El-Hadji, being shown the other way by Saudi Arabia. Just no real conviction in their attacks. They were better to be gone at for a moment, Spain. The space opened up and the attack is still on now, and I'll get to his faults in a moment. It seems to have petered out for the time being. Al-Hadji, Al-Shabat on the right wing looks really frustrated with his team there. There was a chance to go forward and it just seemed like they didn't back themselves.
Yeah, just get into positions and they don't believe they can take on them. And it doesn't feel like there's a focal point up there. I know Al-Hamdan's in that position, Al-Burakan was there for the first half. And getting to those kind of pockets of space, left of centre or right of centre in the Spanish half, there doesn't seem to be any options further forward for the player up the ball. Yeah,
they are up by the corner flag now for the time being. Well, it's not really resulted in anything. It was Al-Hamdan, substitute, came on at the half-time break. Maybe it was one of his first touches actually of this second half. Spain have got it clear, but Layamic picks it up now inside towards Nassim Al-Desari. The other way, now back towards Altan Bakti again. Layami now. Saudi Arabia make the most of this one. It's chipped forward, they can't indeed. It's over the head there of Abdul Hamid. Again, some nice ideas, but just not quite there with the execution. Spain have taken the throw in quickly. Laporte back towards his goalkeeper Unai Simon, who must be the most bored person inside the stadium at the moment. He's on absolutely nothing to do in this game as the Spanish goalkeeper. Maybe a bit of debate before the tournament about whether it should have been David Raya starting, as you mentioned earlier, Tom. Raya's had a fantastic season with Arsenal and regarded as one of the best goalkeepers in the world for this campaign, but Spain are attacking now. Marino brings it down with his chest on the edge of the area, just can't quite make the room for the shot though, or find a pass. So he keeps hold of it for now, finds Rodri now back towards Marino. First time he's dispossessed. Can Saudi Arabia now get away? It's Cano the substitute, and he's found it through on that left hand side. Salim Al-Desari, Porro just about tracks back to keep up with him, but Saudi Arabia keep hold of possession. Cano back to Al-Desari, foot goes in there from the Spanish player. Pino actually buzzed around and he's won it. He's found Williams, he's slipped it through as well now for Ferran Torres. Touch from the Saudi Arabian defender, but it still found its way through him, but Spain haven't been able to hold on to it. It's becoming a little bit stretched actually in the few recent moments. It's not going to go forward though from Saudi Arabia, and Spain seemed a bit scrambled at the back there for a few seconds.
Yeah, all of a sudden it was stretched in the middle of the park and there was space for Saudi Arabia to break forward. It just broke down. Salim Al-Desari squeezed the ball out to the right hand side where the space was. And there's nearly moments for Saudi Arabia. They are seeing more of the ball in Spanish territory, probably since the hydration break midway through this second half, possibly because Spain have taken their foot off the gas as well and are pretty comfortable in this position. It's just allowed Saudi Arabia to get on the ball a bit more, but they need to now take that next step and create something noteworthy in an attacking sense.
Yeah, here is the captain now, Al-Desari, who doesn't like the most dangerous player going forward, buzzing around again, trying to make something happen as we enter the final 10 minutes in Atlanta. Still Spain 4, Saudi Arabia 0. Saudi Arabia playing for nothing but pride really at this point, trying to get themselves a goal against Spain would still be a decent achievement for them and set themselves up to maybe at least go at Cape Verde a bit more in that final game. Abdelhamid now with the throw-in, he goes forward, he goes positive as well. Al-Shawat's trying to find it through, it might find its way as well through towards Al-Hamdani. He has a shot as well on the edge of the area. It's not a bad effort, it's comfortably Saudi Arabia's maybe best chance of the game, I want to say. It's definitely their best attempt on goal. First shot on target, as I was just saying, but still a routine save for Unai Simon.
Yeah, you got Al-Hamdi. Took it, didn't he, on his left foot, took it confidently enough, and bouncing ball in front of Unai Simon. We mentioned he's been little more of a spectator in this game, so to remain alert there. And yeah, a decent strike, and at least it gave Saudi supporters that are in the ground in Atlanta something to cheer.
Certainly did. With Unai Simon though now For the time being, it's taken until the final 10 minutes of the game for Saudi Arabia to get their first shot on target. They were looking for another one there, but Spain have won it back off them, and now the game is stretched again. It's Williams over on this left-hand side. He's got Kukurea for support as well. Williams up towards the edge of the box, left-footed cross into the area. He's a dangerous one. Well, it's almost off his own man there, and nearly for another own goal in this game. Altan backed it. He's already scored an own goal in this game. He wasn't giving much options there as the Spanish player ran round the back of him. It's a good save in the end from Alawas. Two players are down as a result of a collision inside the penalty area, and almost a fifth for Spain.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure what the referee's given there. They've been together between Yeremy Pino and Altan Bakhti. It's a really good ball in from the left-hand side by Nico Williams, and just a little bit of a nudge in the back of Altan Bakhti, maybe a free kick being given. It forced him to divert the ball off his midriff towards his own goal. His hand would have been in his mouth there, not to score a second own goal of the match. Otherwise, made a good save. I'm sure Pino picked up his knock, but yeah, it looks like free kick was the decision from the referee.
Yeah, Yeremy Pino hasn't needed any treatment as a result of that. It's tough to see on the replay what he actually got injured for in that chance. But here comes Al Shamat now down the other end for Saudi Arabia. He's tripped by Kukurea as well, and that is going to be a free kick for Saudi Arabia. Just a few, 10 yards in front of the halfway line. Kukurea, I don't think is going to go into the book for that one. Perhaps a little bit fortuitously. Saudi Arabia thought they were on the counter-attack. It's a nice chop back inside actually, and Kukurea just completely takes him out. Yeah,
Al Shamat's done alright since coming on. He's been an option on that right hand flank. Hasn't always got the ball when he's asked for it, but he's there. He's high up the pitch, and he certainly took a whack from Mark Cucurella, who was done by the chop inside from the Saudi Arabia substitute. He wants to get on the ball, which when it's 4-0 down, everyone will want to do that.
It's not the greatest kick out there by Alawas, but fortunately for him, Cano has got there in front of Fabian Ruiz. Here's Cano again, nice pass through the lines, and this is better from Saudi Arabia. And Al Dasari trying to get through for his teammate there just in front of him in Al Hedji. He's actually gone down under a challenge. He's on his face as a result of it. I'm not sure if one just got left in on him there as he offloaded the ball. So the referee just gives the thumbs up to him and says that he saw it. So we'll see if further action comes of it. But decent play from the Saudi Arabia captain. We'll see the replay now, and I think the report's probably lucky not to go into the book there. He just completely sort of gives him a shoulder charge.
It's really cynical, isn't he? Al Dasari going for the give and go, and recognises him, but knows he can't turn quickly enough to track the run, so just shoulder barges him and catches a little bit of a sore one in the face. I'm not sure how much the referee actually saw it completely, because it should have been a yellow card for the Spanish defender.
Yeah, still no bookings in this game for Spain, but you can argue that Kukurea and Laporte could have been booked for their respective challenges in the last few moments. Saudi Arabian free kick hasn't led to anything, and Spain are now cut back comfortably in possession with Kabasi. There's Marino up ahead of him now. Porro on the halfway line, trying an ambitious ball forward, looking for the run of Yeremy Pino, but it's snuffed out. There's Layami now at the back for Saudi Arabia. Just around 5 minutes left to go of this Group H match in Atlanta. Spain cruising towards their first win of this World Cup. Something they'll take confidence from the fact as well. When they last won the tournament in 2010, they did lose their first game against Switzerland. They went on to win the tournament. Of course, drew 0-0 with Cape Verde in their first game, so they open it's more of the same. But that's a great ball out towards the right to pick out Abdulhamid. And he got a good ball into the box as well. Can't quite beat Laporte though. Heads it away. It's going to be picked up by Al Shamat. Halfway inside the Spanish half. Al Shamat drifting inside. Abdulhamid though over towards his right now, back towards Cano. A little bit more central. Not too much tempo in this play from Saudi Arabia as Cano goes back towards Nassim Al Dasari. Layami right back towards Nassim Al Dasari. Moving forward, but there's not many runs being made up ahead of them. And again for Abdulhamid. It's just sort of sideways and backwards at the moment from Saudi Arabia. No real penetration in the passes as Abdulhamid gets on it again. To Al Shamat. Once again, Nassim Al Dasari. Moved it all the way towards the halfway line. There's nothing really in this play for them as they go for the crossfield ball now. Asking a lot of Al Shamat, but he brings it down nicely with his chest. Can they get the forward pass? They can do. It's almost a chance there for Al Hamdan. Goes down under it. It's a good header away though by Kabasi. Out for a throw in. It's in line with the 18-yard box as well. Al Shamat wants to take it. In fact, he's going to let Abdelhamid take it instead. So many players congesting that area of the pitch at the moment. The Saudi Arabians, we feel, need to move it towards the other side quickly if they're going to get anything for it. A clash of heads between two of their own players, and Altan Bakti's giving it away. Poro's going to go first time with the crossfield ball, where the referee has got to stop the match. That's a head injury there for Kano, and I think he's clashed with Al-Hedji, isn't it? One of the other substitutes. They all sort of got in each other's way in the end, and that might be the longest spell of possession they've had for a long time in this game, and ultimately they've done nothing with it again.
Yeah, they've kept going though, and as we mentioned, a lot of it's due to Spain just taking their foot off the gas, but Saudi Arabia plugged away and have seen a lot more of the ball. Unfortunately, coming together there between Al-Hedji and Kano for the same ball. He couldn't see Al-Hedji coming. Al-Hedji could at least see Kano, and kind of stayed down and see the fair bit of treatment before he's able to continue.
Yeah, it's a real nasty one, didn't it? There, as they both went for it. You're thinking, where's the communication from them both there? No one really shouting for it, but they were both jumping for it. It still looks to be a fantastic atmosphere in the stands. The Spanish fans already celebrating their impending victory in this World Cup. The Saudi Arabia supporters still with the team as well to the end. A distance for them to travel, but they're still quite in decent numbers, still waving the flags and wearing the green colours. Spain as well trying to compete nicely with them. It'll be the start of what will be a victorious tournament for them. 2 minutes left to go once this gets back underway. Spain's 3 points have pretty much been confirmed, haven't they, since the opening 20 minutes of this one. Looking back at the first half, it really set the tone for this tournament, for this performance, getting there early, getting them out on the ball, and yeah, they've never looked back.
Yeah, really, since Oyafabal made it 2-0, wasn't it, just after the 20-minute mark. You never really believed that there was a way back into the game for Saudi Arabia, and I don't think they believed that they could get back into it. They needed to keep it at 0-0 for as long as possible. If they got to half-time, got into the second half, it was still goalless. Off the back of that 0-0 with Cape Verde, and the nerves would have set in for Spain. It would have been difficult. The supporters in the ground probably would have been feeling tense, and that would have passed on to the players, but all left buts and maybes. They weren't able to hold out for long enough, Saudi Arabia. But as we mentioned throughout, this was a free hit in some ways for them, and their big game is against Cape Verde in a few days' time, and it potentially could be a playoff to get into the round of 32.
It certainly could be. Kano is now back up to his feet. He's got the headband around him. He's got a little bit of blood as well from around his shirt. I think he's actually going to be withdrawn. They're not going to risk it. They're going to go for the concussion substitute. In fact, they're not, because I thought Khalid Al-Ghanam, he's getting ready to come on. He's stripped and ready on the sidelines, but Kano is actually getting a replacement shirt at the time being. Not sure if he's realised yet that the substitute is getting ready to come on in place of him. He wants to play out the rest of this match, which we're almost up towards stoppage time for, and still Khalid Al-Ghanam can wait on the sidelines, ready to come on. He's actually going to come on as well. Kano is going to see out the rest of the game. It's going to be Nasser Al-Dasawi to be withdrawn, and yeah, the fifth and final substitution.
Yeah, I guess Kano is okay to continue there. I think it would have been interesting to take him off so he can get properly checked over, but Al-Ghanam coming on to see out the final few minutes. Hard for Nasser Al-Dasawi and the midfielders in there for Saudi. They've just been overrun in this game. Yeah,
Kano's actually mentioned that actually abandoned the headband almost immediately. Feels like he doesn't need to play the rest of it with this one. We're about to tick over 90 minutes and just wait to see how much extra has been added on. Just one goal so far in this second half. Spain might want a bit more. 6 minutes of what we're going to see due to the hydration break, and I guess that injury there took maybe around 2 minutes or so. It's not a game that's been too stop-started, though. It's flowed about as well as it could be. Just a lot of possession for Spain mostly. Rodri has a drive into the centre now, back towards Kabasi, and up ahead of him waiting is Fabian Ruiz. All around nicely since coming up, finds Pino on the right side by the touchline. Now back again towards Pedro Porro. Possession still the order of the day for Spain in this one. Laporte now moving forward. Spain's toughest test, you would imagine, of the group stages comes in the next game against Uruguay. That will be quite an interesting game to see who comes out on top of that one. Spain might really really take this win in their stride. Kukurea, Rodri towards the final third, but then actually back towards Kabasi again. Now Porro wants to try and tee up Pino. Eventually does have to check him back on his run. Here is the Crystal Palace forward. Nice ball inside towards Fabian Ruiz. Knocks it through now for Porro as well. Ball goes into the area and it will be tapped home by Ferran Torres. Well, it's the story of redemptions, isn't it, in this game for Spain? A few of those players who didn't turn up in the Cape Verde game, thanks to Boyata ball getting a brace. Ferran Torres now also on the score sheet. It's one of the easiest goals he'll score. The Saudi Arabian defenders just didn't run with him at all, and it's a fifth for Spain.
Yeah, and you know, it's probably what their dominance deserves overall, although Saudi Arabia have been better as the second half has gone on. It's nicely worked down the right hand side. Porro, cross-come shot really, isn't it? Just flashing it into an area, and Torres, suspicion of offside. This one will get looked at by VAR, but as he makes contact with the ball, it was always going to end up in the back of the net. He's not had a great time of it, has he? Mentioned earlier on, Ferran Torres since coming on, but that, if it does stand as a goal, might do his confidence the world of good. Yeah,
it certainly will. At least he's been able to put the ball into the back of a net. I think this might be ruled out, though. It looked fairly suspicious from the side on angle. VAR check is ongoing. Semi-automated one, of course, so we shouldn't be waiting too long for a final result. We've ticked over the halfway point of the additional minutes that were added, 6 in total. About to get towards 3 minutes. Ferran Torres continues to wait to see whether he has scored a goal at the World Cup or not. The players ready to get back underway if he has. Ferran Torres still waiting, the former Manchester City man, of course. Cap it off nicely for Spain if they have made it 5 in this one. 5 is always better than 4 and makes it seem all the more emphatic. Any goals we've done just as how dominant this display has been, though. Complete one-sided stuff from Spain, answering all the critics from the Cape Verde match, going up to 4 points, and still the VAR check is ongoing. I mean, from that angle it does look a little bit tighter, but I still think it's offside.
Yeah, it's difficult with the ankles, isn't it? Offside to me quite comfortably so. We haven't had any lines go up on our screen as of yet, but that last defender, see the longer it takes, the more you think, well, maybe he is offside then, because it's a tight call. He's last World Cup with a 7-0 win over Costa Rica in the group stage. Enough to add to his collection.
Yeah, it certainly will. Still we're waiting for this one. It's been nearly 2 minutes now, probably over 2 minutes since Ferran Torres put the ball into the back of the net, and we're still no closer to finding out whether it's going to stand or not. Fans on FaceTime actually in the Spanish end, getting a nice view of the stadium. If we're still just waiting in the middle, you'd think with the semi-automated offside it would be a lot quicker than what we're seeing, rather than what we see sometimes in the Premier League, where they used to be able to just sort of draw the lines on. Eventually he's going to make the VAR signal. He's going to announce it to the crowd as well. We of course can't hear off tube independent studio pictures. Ultimately will raise his arm up in the air, and it's what we thought. It is offside in the end. Ferran Torres doesn't get his goal at the 2026 World Cup, and it remains 4-0.
Yeah, frustration, disappointment for him. I'm not sure why that took so long, but like it was offside, so decision made, and back to 4-0, and another 5 minutes or so, aren't we? Stoppage time on top of this.
Yeah, certainly. I don't think the referee will necessarily want to add too much more, but he's probably got to do it with the laws of the game. And Spain are immediately back at Saudi Arabia trying to get that 5th. However, they've played it nicely out of the fence this time. The Asian side, ball goes down the line. It's asking a lot there of Kukurea, who slides in. He gets a big touch on it. As Unai Simon done enough to stop that from going out for a corner. He just about has done, so it's going to be a throw-in for Saudi Arabia. Fairly high up the pitch as well, just by the corner flag. A chance for them to get some players forward. It's going to be Abdul Hamid to take this throw-in as well. It's the options to present themselves. Salim Al-Dasari thinks about doing so. He's going to launch it straight into the box though. Header from El Hedji, but he's beaten to it by Laporte, and ultimately it's back in the hands of Unai Simon. Rodri was the man in there as well, causing that attack to break down. Kabasi was just holding his feet for a few moments, but he's back up to his feet now and shouldn't need any treatment. We approach 6 minutes gone of additional time. 6 were added, but at least 3 minutes had to be delayed there because of the VAR check. Laporte now reducing the game to walking pace in the final few moments. And Tom, towards the end of this game now, has this sort of restored faith that Spain can go and win this World Cup?
I think it has. They set out the statement in the first half, and they were pretty intense for the first 15-20 minutes or so. The second, naturally, it's petered out a bit as the second half's gone on. So taking their foot off the gas. Saudi Arabia had one or two moments of their own in the game, but a comfortable win for Spain. 4 points. They'll know now that if they can get a result against Uruguay, they'll definitely finish top of the group, and then completely forget about that goalless draw of Cape Verde. Yeah,
exactly. They won't be thinking about that one if they go on and win the tournament. Looks like that 1-0 victory against Switzerland back in 2010. Here's Marino now for Spain, inside towards Ruiz. Long field ball over towards Williams, just going to find him as well. Brilliant takedown to get up towards the edge of the box now, up against Abdelhamid. Outside of the box now towards Cucurella. He plays it square towards Kabasi, who's come up to support the attack. Inside towards Marino. Now again for Fabian Ruiz. Spain just camped on the edge of the box at the moment. As Porro whips the ball in, it's a decent looking one as well. Al-Shamat with the header behind him. It's going to go out for a throw-in just by the corner flag. Still we play it in Atlanta. A minute over the 6 that were added, but that's because of the VAR check, and Cucurella will come across to take this throw-in. It's going to be made by Rodri just over towards his right. It's going to go all the way back towards the halfway line now as well, in the form of Aymeric Laporte. Tough day for the Saudi Arabians, but still just can't let this result affect them too much. They have come up against the European champions, still got a chance of going through to those knockout rounds. Got that important point against Uruguay, of course, in the first game. Could have been 3, but had to settle for just the 1 in the end. Never really had a chance in this game from the offset, with Spain in the mood. Pino, nice ball through towards Ruiz, who's made the run down the right side. He signs it inside towards Marino now on his left foot. He's going to go for the shot as well. It's blocked by the first defender, El Hedji, who's right next to him. Al Hamdan now will try and bring it down. Rodri will as well. Not sure what the referee has given in the end. Has he given an offside? I think that's the full-time whistle in the end. It didn't look too obvious from the referee, but in the end, a professional display from Spain. They were dominant from the off in this one, Atlanta. It's finished Spain 4, Saudi Arabia 0.
Our next football commentary match is getting ever nearer, so why not take the opportunity of having a bet on the match? Whether you're interested in betting on the match result, the first player to score, the last scorer, correct score, double result, total goals market, handicap betting, or any other of our exciting market, it's fun to be involved. Don't forget, when the match kicks off, you can sit back and enjoy superb independent studio commentary while also enjoying our in-play betting opportunities. Good luck. Our next football commentary match is getting ever nearer, so why not take the opportunity of having a bet on the match? Whether you're interested in betting on the match result, the first player to score, the last scorer, correct score, double result, total goals market, handicap betting, or any other of our exciting market, it's fun to be involved. Don't forget, when the match kicks off, you can sit back and enjoy superb independent